1927, it was Henry Seagrave who decided to take the Sunbeam 1000 to 203.79 miles an hour, and that is what started off the love relationship between Daytona Beach and speed. In 1936, we had the first ever race on Daytona Beach, and in 1949, it was the second ever event in NASCAR history. But the France family realized they needed a permanent racetrack. And with that, in 1959, Daytona International Speedway was born. And in 1962, it hosted its first ever road race, the Daytona Continental. Since then, GT racing, endurance racing has become a part not only of Daytona history, but it is the wake-up call, the alarm, the ringing of a new year of racing, not just in North America, but around the world. And today it plays host here on iRacing to the Raw before the 24. In 1 week's time, we're going to head ourselves for 24 hours worth of fast-paced racing in some of the fastest cars on the iRacing service. But today, we start off with 2 hours and 24 minutes worth of racing, 3 classes of cars, and if you've not seen one of these events before, you are going to be in for a treat. So grab yourself a couple of cold ones, sit back and relax, because we, here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live, we start next.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
Welcome to Daytona, Florida. Welcome to Daytona International Speedway, the site, of course, of the Daytona 500. The Rolex 24 Hours, new to iRacing, of course, recently, Global Rallycross, but today it is the Raw before the 24 on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Today we'll be running for 144 minutes. Wolverton along with Cam Walsh and Jake Sperry. You can see there the track layout that we're running here today. It runs a large proportion of the Daytona Oval. In fact, it only misses out a couple hundred yards. But turn number 1, very tight, very tricky. Starts off in the banking, then narrows it down. Turn 2, one of the most difficult corners actually in all of endurance racing. You run yourself down to the International Horseshoe, then that difficult turn 6 left-hander. Then you've got yourself another hairpin. Back onto the track you come. You've got the bus stop chicane. And you've got a lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of drafting. And with the 3 classes of cars we have today, our GTs and the Kias, our Grand Sports with the Ford Mustang, and the Street Tuners with the Mazda MX-5s, there's going to be a lot of furious thinking as drivers will draft, will pass, will try and navigate their way around this racetrack. Want to give a shout out to Isfan Balal's track canvas for gourmets, Andreas Warner and One Design for our overlay design, Aptioneer.in for our overlay animation. Of course, live timing and scoring will be available all race long. So Cam, it's a new season on iRacing. It's a new time to go racing. 4 minutes until the drivers line themselves up on the grid.
Yes, and I gotta say, this is, once again, to do this for the second year in a row, I'm super happy that they put this event on. After they launched the endurance racing, individual events kind of went by the wayside in a sense, but thankfully, we've got this Roar Before the 24, and it is going to be a grand old time, 2 hours, 24 minutes of racing. I'm excited, and I'm excited that they managed to pick cars that you wouldn't normally see racing together, and I think we're in for a real treat today.
Yeah, and Jake, I was just doing some work before this race. Top speed of the Mazdas, 130 miles an hour. Top speed of the Kias, 172 miles an hour. So on the banking, those Mazdas are going to have a lot of cars streaming past them.
They are, and hopefully with the way that this race is going to start, they won't have to deal with that for too much of the opening few stages. But that banking is going to be very difficult. It's going to be very much pick your lane. And I think that on this oval, it's going to be a massive nightmare, as I was just looking at Alex Ruera trying to negotiate his traffic. And especially when you have to come out of your line to make it happen, you've got to make sure that you are as straight-lined as possible when it comes to making sure that those MX-5s do not become a factor in terms of the other battles, and that includes the Mustangs as well.
Oh yeah, indeed so. So we're just having a look then at some of our aerial footage of the drivers just complete their practice. As I say, they'll have themselves another 3 minutes before they'll head themselves down to the starting grid for this one. And starting any form of racing is important, but Cam, at this racetrack here today, it's all what I call about track management. For the faster cars, you know, they are going to have to use that brute speed on the banking. The car that will struggle, I would say, the most here today, most likely going to be the Mustangs, because they do take quite a while to brake. They're not as nimble on the brake as either the Kias or the Mazda MX-5s. And also, their straight line speed is such that they can overtake those MX-5s, and they can kind of hang with the Kias, but it's not a case of them breezing past as easily.
No, and you add traffic of battling into that, and it multiplies those problems again and again. You've basically got the braking power of an MX-5 with the weight of a Kia, and you add those two together with a 5-speed manual transmission. And it's a fun vehicle to drive. It sounds amazing. Obviously, it's the best out there because it's a Ford, but I will say it is certainly a challenge, and my hat is off to the guys who have selected to drive the Mustang. It's basically a full field of Mustangs, and because it should be a good challenge for the drivers, and it should be a good challenge for them fighting for position. But you add these Kias and the Mustang, the Kias and the MX-5s in there, it's going to be a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look actually through, and we've got ourselves a field of 17 Kias here today. We've got ourselves a field of 20 drivers in that GTS field. That is, of course, your Ford Mustangs. And then in terms of your Mazda MX-5s, we've got 20 of those as well. So, Jake, it's not going to be a case of, you know, having just 5 or 6 cars of one classification. There's a lot to race for up and down your field in each of your classes today.
Exactly. And you look at the caliber of drivers who are looking to make that field happen. I mean, the Kia speak for itself. We got veterans, we got some of the quickest drivers on the iRacing service. You can look down every single category. Every single field, up and down, is stacked. Names that haven't been here for a while coming back. Names who are maybe starting to develop in this top split, looking to make a really big challenge. And I think it's fantastic to see just how many strong drivers have turned up for an event which a lot of people would normally discredit, but I think it's a fantastic event that is put on every single year.
Yep, so we have just got ourselves 20 seconds left worth of warm-up, and then we're going to run you through your starting grid for this. The Roar Before the 24 has been a feature of iRacing since 2010. One of the longest events, actually, hosted on the iRacing calendar alongside the iRacing Indianapolis 500. And as I say, it really does kick off our special event program for iRacing for this year. We'll talk more about that over the course of the motor race. But practice is over. Drivers will head themselves down to the grid, and that means we can now run through your starting order for today's event. And we'll do that, ladies and gentlemen, in just 30 seconds' time. Well, they promised those LMP1 cars as soon as next season. That'll be fantastic to see. But let's go back to the here and now then, and let's turn your attention over to your starting grid for today's event here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. We're going to get that one up for you in just 1 second's time. I can tell you, of course, that we have got the 3 classes of cars running. You've got yourself the Kias. They are running in your GT field. You've got your GTS field. They are running with your Ford Mustangs. And then, of course, you've got yourself the Mazda MX-5. Let's try that one more time. We're not going to get any luck today, so we're going to have to run through it as we work ourselves through the motor race, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. But we can turn our attention up towards the front of the field, and there you will be able to see the driver of Jamie Fluke. We'll turn our attention over to him. He will be starting at the front of this field. As we can just see, we can turn our attention over because they are already on the pace lap and they are already getting ready to get going. They start the pace lap here down at the bus stop chicane. So here we are. Welcome then, ladies and gentlemen, to 2018 special events on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. Number 8 machine, Jamie Fluke, at the front of your field. Alongside him will be 1E Lopez, number 3 machine, Ross Balfour in 3rd, Jack Sedgwick in 4th place. We'll get the starts then from each of your 3 classes as we will kick off the Raw before the 24. That pace car is going to pull itself on towards pit road and the green flag is out in the air. We are racing in 2018. I'll tell you one thing, actually. These 3 classes of cars are actually a lot closer together than what I would normally give them credit for at the start of any form of endurance event. They are 3 wide down in towards turn number 1 in terms of your GTS field of the Kias, and they've all kind of bunched up, actually. You can see the rear part of your field has got themselves almost tracked out there by your Ford Mustang field, and the number 36 machine there of Mike Dam was running through the grass as they came down towards the International Horseshoe down on your first lap, Jake. But everyone, with the exception of Isaac Price, has survived this one. In fact, Isaac Price started from pit road.
Yes, he did, so he's got a long way to go in this event, does Isaac Price, of course, sim racing, but aside from that, very good start. Fluke, Balfour, Lopez, Sedgwick, Baker, Herrera, very good opening lap then from those guys in the Kias, but what isn't surprising is the fact that the Mustangs were holding their own, the likes of Adria Perez, to the back of that train when they got to here, but this is where the Kia is now going to open out these GTS machines incredibly fast. Now you're going to see the Mustangs go in battle side by side. Javier Sanchez against Travis Davis. Davis has got to tuck in, I think. Yeah,
I think so. As we're just having a look back there, you can see you've got a pack of drivers all going at it down in your GTS field. Live timing and scoring will be available, by the way, in just 1 moment's time here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. You can track your favourite drivers all day long. Isaac Price, you can see he is just weaving himself through your entirety of the MX-5 field. Yeah, he does get past there, down in towards the bus stop chicane. They were side by side for the moment, but your entire field has got themselves underway. So we are now already on to lap number 2. Ross Balfour behind Jamie Fluke as they come down in towards turn number 1 for the first time at full racing pace cam.
Yeah, it's an impressive sight to say when you've got the leading Kia going into corner number 1 and you got the MX-5s just clearing the bus stop. That is how many vehicles that we have here today. Jamie Fluke, well, he's had no pressure from Ross Balfour. I think these guys understand it's a longer race, but where I'm seeing some of this fighting is the Mustangs. They're racy right now. Tim Claassens in that number 50 machine is fighting against Ajao Sanchez in that number 16 for going into the horseshoe, and actually Sanchez almost squeezing him out a little bit. These Mustangs, they seem a bit rowdy. They want to get going, and looks to me like these guys is probably, for this opening section anyways, going to be where the eyes are for the battles.
Yeah, and we're just having a look there at Alejandro Sanchez in the number 16 Club Iberia car towards turn number 6. They come now. You can just see that huge movement, and the gaggle of cars, they're still really close together. Isaac Price again, he's now caught himself into the back of this Mustang traffic, starting this race on pit road. We're going to go on board of him for just one moment, because you're going to see it's going to be that hot knife through butter effect the second, and he's going to have to try and go down the inside of the huge ass car. Number 57 of David Haynes wasn't able to do so, but now they come onto the banking. The speed differential is only about 10 miles an hour, but it is enough that Price can use that draft, duck in and duck out. And this is a really good example, Jake, of what we're going to see a lot of between each of our 3 classes all afternoon.
Exactly, and Isaac Price knows how to pick and weave his way through the traffic. He's arguably one of the best anchors in the world when it comes to endurance racing. You can see straight down the inside there of the driver of Jim Shedlick, and making that one look very comfortable as he'll get back on the power to get to the likes of Overgaard, Jacobs and Co. But he's still got himself about 10-15 seconds back till he gets to Barraclough, if not 20 seconds to the Torque Freak Racing machine. So Isaac Price will have his work cut out. It's not going to be easy for him. He'll get to position 18, no problems, but from there, that's where the long slog begins.
Live timing scoring is now available, ladies and gentlemen. Visit RaceSpot.tv/timing. Side by side, just ahead of the battle we were looking at. This is Alex in the number 43 machine. Alex Roria then. Number 43, Iberia car, just being passed by Fabrice Cornelius. This is the battle going on for P number 6. There has been a little bit of dented bodywork, actually, to that number 43 machine already. A couple of cars have had that issue in the early going. Slight little taps, but Cam, it's worth noting, all 3 of these cars, they can withstand, you know, a bit of a wallop.
They can, as long as a Kia doesn't bowl into the MX-5s like a bowling ball into a stack of pins. We should be okay. Door-to-door contact should be all right. A little bit of front bumper incidents should not be that large of a deal, but the big worry, somebody gets sideways here. This track, obviously the banking can be quite wide, but this infield very narrow, and if we start getting to a situation where a car goes sideways and people start pancaking into the wheels, that is where we're going to be seeing our retirements. I will say Isaac Price, he's only got 2 more cars to go to clear the Mustang field. Not quite sure why he wanted to start all the way back there. Maybe just the enjoyment of going through everybody. There he goes. But either way, everyone seems to be spacing themselves out right now. The elbows have not certainly come out, and I think that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, for those of you who wonder why we like this event so much, just keep an eye out on these Mazda MX-5s right about now as they head themselves on to the banking on lap number 3 here of the Raw before the 24 on RaceSpotTV. It all starts off so nice and calm. Then the draft will kick in right about now. We saw them going 3, almost 4 abreast down in towards turn number 1 a moment ago. We're just going to keep it with these cars, and you'll start seeing they will bunch up. And we're going to see this for the entirety, I would say, of the first stint. These drivers will get close, and they will be able to use and navigate the draft all the way on these long straightaways. You'll see through the bus stop chicane, this is where those who get a good run can really benefit, get themselves to run out the corner. And already we've got a bit of 2-wide racing going on in your ST class, these Mazda MX-5s, as they'll now work towards the start-finish line once again. Closest battle we've got going on in this one, actually, is for P number 1, 2, and 3. Here is the number 31 machine of Oriel Borri then. Up to second place, looking to the outside of Heza Cecilia, looking for first place. Is he going to get it? Well, he's going to be side by side at the line as they come towards turn number 1. But will he be able to make the pass on the outside line? The answer to that one is going to be no, not just yet. But you'll see that this field will then all start closing in again as they work through turns number 2, 3 towards the International Horseshoe, Jake.
Yeah, they will, and you look at the sort of strength in his field. Hazer, Cecilia, no surprises. The Odox Motorsport machine doing well. A little bit of a tap, one tap, two tap right in the back as Fernando Antoli gets put under pressure from Ricardo Silva, wanting to be desperate to make a move through. But you take someone like Kanchin, someone like Hartley, someone like Cecilia, drivers who are up there 7K, 8K, by just doing MX-5s from time to time. You know, Sonny Kanchin, arguably one of the best, Robert Hartley the next one, but these guys, this is their specialty, and whilst drivers will be quicker, you look like someone further down, Moritz Lohner, and a rare appearance of Riku Alatalo as well. These two drivers are no slouches. They're world championship material. In this MX-5, though, they're middle of the pack.
Yeah, we've got our first retiree of the day, really. That is Daniele Piazza out in your GTS field. However, at the front of your GT field with these Kias, Ross Balfour right on the rear of Jamie Fluke. A little bit sliding, actually, by Fluke Jam into the International Horseshoe, and that means that Balfour is able to really close up. Juan Lopez is still in the mix. Jack Sedgwick is still in the mix. David Baker is still in the mix. Your top 5 right now separated by 1.5 seconds on track.
Yeah, these Kias have not broken away from anyone. Basically, the entire field minus 2 are all right with each other. And, well, I can't say I'm too terribly surprised. These cars, they are always good racers. These are actually pretty much used as the representative touring cars because they are front-wheel drive machines, but obviously no touring car running here, at least we hope. But right now, it just looks like everyone just seems to be settling in, but I will say these fronts, being a front-wheel drive machine, these tires are going to start going fairly soon. They're going to overheat. They're going to start not necessarily doing what people want them to do, and that is when things get interesting.
Yeah, as they'll all come down, snaking into the bus stop chicane, and that will be interesting when, oh, we got a car who's just decided that he wanted to do a little bit of dirt running there. Trying to work out who that is. I believe it might 24. Be around, yeah, Carlos Villegas. As we can see, he's now running the high side. He's going to be swamped by drivers. He's going to try and make that slowdown penalty as limiting as possible for him. But we'll get ourselves a replay of what happened down at the bus stop chicane. This is him braking for the corner. Slows it down. Just slides, tries to correct, and ends up on the grass there, Cam.
Yeah, well, it is not in a rallycross car. That was, of course, last night. Colin Klopman has a machine on his outside. The number 26 actually clears him, so no issues there going through that front. That's into the International Horseshoe, and either way, I'd have to say I don't necessarily think I would want the Kia. Actually, there's an incident there that Nicholas Lablich, that number 47 machine, he's going to be turned around, so perhaps elbows a little bit, but for the most part, it looks like everyone's all right.
Yeah, get ourselves a quick second look at that one. That was down into the International Horseshoe. You can see they were very close together all around. We come down into the corner, and he just gets a tap. Actually, I'll put that one on Labich there. He came down in the center of the corner into a number of cars, and now that number 47 machine just almost at the rear of that GT field as it stands right now. We've got battles going on also in your GTS, side by side, door banging. That is Tim Claessens and Alejandro Sanchez there. Sanchez just about able to hold on, goes back down to the inside of the driver of Tim Claessens into the International Horseshoe, makes the move stick there, Jake.
Oh, fantastic work there from Claessens. He made sure that he got that move and made it happen. I will disagree with you on that previous incident. I thought Eric Andre was far too deep in on the brakes in the Kia Optima, but no harm, no foul. You know what? Claessens may be under a little bit more pressure because Mike Dam wants to be in this one, and well, Mike Dam, well, he's trying, but at the moment it seems that he's got to traverse some form of dam which is blocking his way, like Tim Claessens is at this moment. But the good news is that they're not dropping off this train, which has the two Perez's, Mark and Adria, Iru Nom in the Torque Freak Racing Mustang. We've got Alejandro Sanchez still there too, but they've got to make sure that they stay within that 1 second window there or thereabouts. Losing the draft this early pretty much puts you out of racing contention.
Oh yeah, it will do. So you've got to make sure that you keep your eye on the prize out front. We go on board actually with Mike Dam, P number 6 in class right now. We're going to show you actually your top 3 in each of the classes as it stands, with coming up to almost 15 minutes worth of racing going to be scored complete. Fluke leads in terms of your Kia field, where Ross Balfour in second place and Juan Lopez in third. In GTS, it was Mark Perez leading by 3/10 of a second over Iro Nom, and then Heza Cecilia lead in your ST class over Oriel Bo and Sonny Kanchan in third place. As we've just been looking there at Mike Dam, it is still very close in each of your three classes. There is Iro Nom looking for second place, having to tuck back in, but Adria Perez blinking for the moment of going down to the inside for the race lead in class. Wasn't able to make it work there, Cam.
No, and I'm just looking to the rear of the MX-5 field, and here comes the swarm. Jamie Fluke leading these Kia Optimas through this MX-5 field. Look at the difference in speed. Jamie Fluke says goodnight to 3 of them before he gets to the bus stop, and there actually someone has to take the short chute there, which means he's going to have a penalty. That's Tony Repisard. The Kia is just a little too quick there, and the train is a-rollin'.
That was incredible. We decided to just let you deal with that one because Jamie Fluke was having a bit of a beep moment, as we're going to call it there, as they worked towards turn number 1. I counted there, he passed 12 cars in the space of about a mile and a half there, Jake, and they all got bunched up, going 3 wide into the International Horseshoe. There's not much you can really say at that point.
No, there isn't, because that International Horseshoe, yes, it's got areas designed to make that happen, but that corner opens up and then accordions back in again on the exit. So you very much have to be very resourceful with the way that you make your moves, and you got to hope that you make them very quickly, as there's a big move to the inside for one of the Kias. I think that was Alessandro Dalladone, I think, who was making that big dive to the inside to avoid probably 3 or 4 being trapped on the outside heading into the bus stop chicane. So I think Alessandro Dalladone made a bold move, but a very good move. But look at what it's done now for your MX-5s. It's now a 2-vehicle breakaway. It's the drivers of Heza Cecilia and Robert Hartley. Sonny Kanchan trying to work with Ricardo Silva to get there, and Silva can't get past with the overspeed because Kias are monstering left and right.
Yeah, but don't forget, this will change again as well. Once we get the Kias through, there'll be the Mustangs coming into play in the next 2 to 3 laps. And that's the thing I always say when I used to do some form of driver coaching, Cam. If you are not in the fastest pack, in the fastest class of car, you've got to remember the race will go away from you, the race will come to you. It's about trying to get as close to your optimum lap time as possible, but knowing that you're not going to be able to necessarily hit that lap after lap, because you are, from now on, going to have to go offline onto the dirty side of the racetrack. You're going to have to pick up dirt on your tyres. You're going to be compromised and turn in on corner exit. And from now on, it's a case of making the best out of every opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, and I will say the Kias are probably going to catch the Mustangs before the Mustangs catch the MX-5s, I believe. But either way, I will say this is the benefit of having Daytona International Speedway, 3.56 miles. Yes, we have an infinite number of cars, 58 machines here at Daytona, but it doesn't necessarily lend itself that infield, as we saw with Jamie Fluke, catching that field, probably I would add say the worst section of the track, rather than just being able to blow by everybody on the banking. But I will say it is a very, very difficult task. Any multi-class racing can always present massive challenges, just as you were alluding to. And for me, I think there's a benefit here that it's Daytona, because you obviously have so much space on the banking, and the top speed, the legs of these machines can really lean out. But I will say, when we get to that infield section, hold on, because things develop really quickly. You can see how this Kia field was all together, and after that one infield section, it's now a top 4, and then a another top 4, and then after that, the rest of the Kia fields are pretty much scattered.
Yeah, just to let you know, we've just been looking at this one. Tim Clayson's been able to get himself past Alejandro Sanchez, so he's now up into second place on class. Also worth noting, Aaron Nom is out of this event from your Kia field, Jake. He's been involved in a wreck as they were negotiating all that MX-5 traffic. He is out. Adria Perez is out as well from your Kia field, and Eric Andre is out from your Kia field. We've got ourselves on Eric Andre. It's Aaron Nom as well as Adria Perez from your Mustang field.
Yes, and well, Aaron Nom involved in the incident. Adria Perez very firmly out of this one, so it's Mark Perez at the front of the field. Clayson, Sanchez, Dam, Overgaard waiting as well, and it's a 5-vehicle breakaway at the front of the Mustangs, and it created a massive hole behind Shedlick. Then you got Jacob Shiflett, and then you got Travis Davis and David Haynes waiting in the wings as well. So 2 packs of 5. It can be easier to differentiate, but don't think that the racing's done, because here comes Mike Dam to the outside of Alejandro Sanchez, then on lap 9, looking to start their lap 10. Just got out there, and then that Mustang, very big, very wide, almost sometimes like Lawrence Delalio trying to go through a couple of corners, Will, but it seems right now that once he tried to put himself out there, Mike Dam couldn't make the move.
Yeah, indeed, sir, and he is up into 4th place as a consequence of Aaron Nom and Adria Perez both now being classified as out of this event, at least for the time being. So Dam is in 4th place, however, cannot do anything over Sanchez et al. For the time being. Let's go back and have a look down in your ST field, because as we alluded to earlier on cam, it's currently a 3-horse race. Heza Cecilia is leading in class by 2 tenths per second over Robert Hartley. Then in 3rd place, you've got yourself the driver of Sonny Kanchin, and those 3 drivers now have a 1.2 second advantage over Oriel Bowe, who runs in 4th.
Yeah, these vehicles have been working together to pretty much pull away from your MX-5 field. So you've got that pack of 3, pack of 4, and then you got the rest of your MX-5s. But right now, Sonny Kanchin, I believe he's just in a holding pattern. He's got the overspeed. Obviously, the draft is massive in these machines. If you've ever had the opportunity to watch an SCCA race here at this very circuit in these very car, you would know that this is perhaps one of the most exciting races that you can get all season long. They also throw like 130 of these machines out on the track due to their size. But Sonny Kanchin, you can see he's got the speed, but he just sort of lays off. He backs off there, and he just wants some clean air. And then they all take different lines going into corner number 1, which always presents an interesting challenge, because you got to quickly get on back into single file line, which they of course do. A little bit of fighting from Ricardo Silva, but I will say with the draft, you can see they can all close up on each other as long as they work together.
Yeah, so back out front, Jamie Fluke continues to lead away by 3 tenths per second over Ross Balfour. That is the battle going on at the top for your overall race lead. Tim Clayson's, by the way, Mark Perez, nose to tail on the run towards the start-finish line. Clayson's was able to get himself past Alejandro Sanchez a lap and a half ago. Now he looks down to the inside over Mark Perez. This is for class race lead. No, he's not going to do so. I did see a little bit of pushing there, Jake, from Clayson's over Perez as they came towards the start-finish line. Maybe try and do a little bit of that good old-fashioned bump drafting.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial, because if he doesn't want that lead, he wants to run the man out of fuel quicker so that he spends less time on the lane during this event, meaning that he can get that advantage come the end. And I think that's the same also at the front of the field between Fluke and Balfour here, because Ross Balfour has not tried to make a move at all during this event at the front of your Kia field. And it's very, very important to know that it's not also just the fuel that becomes a big issue. It's the tyres that go away as well here in these machines. So it may be that, yes, they can do quick laps, but compare quick laps to quick laps. Jamie Fluke is already 1 second slower than what he was on lap 2. And that just shows you how the tyres fall off of a Kia Optima.
Oh, yeah. Lap times are changing. Actually, last time by 154.446. David Barraclough, by the way, versus Kurt Crum, they are currently running side by side. In class, they were running side by side. Crum up 1 place, David Barraclough down 1. Battle 13th place on track in your Kia field this afternoon. There's still battles going on in your mid-pack of this MX-5 field that we haven't really talked about at all, Jake. I'm thinking about everyone from about Brian Holmes down in P8 in class, who is just past John Allen, Victor Nandez in there, Robin Esserton, Moritz Lohner, Kimo Suman in that one, thinking about going free wide into turn number 1. They're not going for the race lead right now, but these guys looking as if they're having a load of fun as one Mazda just rams another in the rear. I think that was the driver, Lohner, who was just getting that little love tap.
Yeah, Moritz Lohner getting sent over, and round's going to go David Novakovsky, the Triton Racing driver, and he's going to be pretty much out of the event with no fast repairs to speak of. He was just caught innocent bystander. Lohner was slow coming out of turn number 1, heading towards the International Horseshoe. It checks up, they all move across, and well, there's not much Novakovsky can do about that one. He'll be very hard done by the Polish driver. Yeah,
and you can see their front body work damage as a consequence of that one. Had to go down towards pit road, so he was going to be...
Oh, actually... Sorry to interrupt. There is an incident between the Kias and the Mustangs. They were together for about 5 seconds, and they were going into quarter number 1. 3 cars have been pushed to the outside, 2 with massive amounts of damage. A couple of the names going through, at least I saw Xavier Sanchez. Yeah, a couple of other cars, but not a clean run like they had with the MX-5s.
Yeah, let's have a look. And we can see there you got yourself the number 42 car of Mathieu Prudhomme, who's involved in that. Number 29 machine, number 68 cars, all involved in that one. As we just had a look there at our super slow-mo cam. We'll get ourselves one more look, if at all possible. This is on board with Prudhomme down into 1.
Yeah, and this all started when the number 29 Mustang, Xavier Sanchez, perhaps a little bit too much speed. The brakes not able to really catch up. Really hit just the rear end of the number 42, Mathieu Prudhomme, and that sort of pushed it into the Kias. And what that started was that everybody then bunched up. And once that started bunching up, you had a couple of cars going into that inside pit wall, pit exit wall. Matthew Catilla, a couple of other cars just had to basically just stop. But overall, for how much smoke and how much chaos there was, I think only 4 cars with some pretty hefty damage is not a bad thing.
No, and they were going 4.5 wide into turn number 2 as they all bunched back up. But for the most part, we are still going. Alejandro Daladon, who we know is on pit road with damage. David Baker is right behind Juani Lopez right now. That's a battle going on in your GT field with these front-wheel drive Kias. Juani Lopez just ahead of Baker, as we say. John Allen has just got himself past Holmes as well. That one's going on in your GTS field. And in terms of, in fact, no, sorry, I take that back. That was in your ST class, your Mazda MX-5 field, where they've all been battling, and this is in that crazy mid-pack. Just to let you know, Ricky Alatala, he's still keeping it kind of with that front pack there, Jake, running P number 7 in class right now, being involved in the battle with Oreo Bo for the last couple of laps.
Yeah, Enrico Alatalo, a driver who has had unlimited potential before, and some may argue is one of those drivers who doesn't race often, so doesn't get a chance to use it, goes off of the apron there, back onto it. They're trying to maybe give himself a bit of a gap here to Oriol Bo so he can close that back down and use it to save fuel as much as possible. I like what the driver of Rico Alatalo is doing. He's sitting, he's waiting, and he's hoping that all these other drivers start to bunch up, which naturally they do, and it brings himself back into play. The issue will be if vehicles are lapping, he gets involved in an incident, or somewhere up in front gets involved in an incident, he could very easily become innocent bystander. We saw that at the front of the field, and with 2.2 seconds of a lead, I think it's like namesake, Jamie had a bit of a fluke.
Jake, come on.
I liked it.
Come on.
That's all right.
No. You know what? I'm not even waiting till the end of the race there, Jake. You blew it. You blew it.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, dear. Oh, well.
Got out of the way early, though.
Yeah, top 3 in class. Hartley, by the way, right on the rear of Ricardo Salvo. In fact, they're going to go 3 wide towards turn number 1. Battle for your lead in the ST division. Ricardo is going to win that one. Braking late. This is going to allow Heza Cecilia to go back down to the inside. Cecilia will retake that race lead on the exit of corner number 1. And there we go. Ricardo Silva will actually then roll out of turn number 2 in second place. But under pressure from Sonny Kanchin, this is fantastic. This battle going on in your MX-5s. Yes, they are the slowest car out there, but they are fantastic fun to be around, as behind your entire front 10 in your Kia field is bunched back up together there, Cam.
Yeah, and it's be courtesy of that that hustling and bustling with the Mustangs really sort of threw everybody for a loop here, and this is actually interesting. You've got basically some of your lead cars in the Kias, your lead cars in the Mustangs. A couple have just gotten through, and Jamie Fluke went, yes, we're finally through the Mustangs, and then immediately was launched into the MX-5 field because he is now surrounded, at least he was on 3 sides going into International Horseshoe number 2, but he's not having necessarily the funnest time you would presume. You know, basic rule of motorsport thought, if you're leading the race, you're not going to have to deal with a lot of traffic. Well, Mr. Jamie Fluke, he's playing a bit of snowplow right now.
Yeah, and you notice there that he had to be careful, because they've put the cones down on the apron to avoid people thinking they can gain a speed advantage there. Now, Fluke was thinking, okay, I can go down the inside. No, you can't. You've got to go high. You've got to find your way around your traffic that way. Jamie Fluke has been able to get himself through most of that Mazda field, but look how this is so much fun to watch right now. Down into the bus stop chicane. They are 3 abreast at some points. They're coming down into this corner. I want to go on board with the driver of Corin Klotman, because he's going to come up among a lot of this traffic over the course of the next 20-30 seconds. Jake, this is just a picture tells 1,000 words sometimes.
It does, and I think it's great heads-up driving from the MX-5 lot. They know that they have to fall back into line as quickly as they can. You can see how none of them will make a move. They'll all go to the inside. On the outside, you'll see Klotman easily make the move, make it as comfortable as you like, as everyone makes a chase, and very, very wide. I think that's Jamie Fluke who's gone very wide, is that not? And well, he gets a check-up from Sonny Kanchin, and just like that, 2 points, or 2 seconds at the finish line, it's now nothing. Juan E. Lopez, Vendaval Sim Racing, right on the tail.
Yeah, as there's still more traffic to go. And this is where Fluke got held up quite a lot last time around as well. As you can see, he is being held up a little bit. He's going to have to weave. It's like one of these 1980s arcade games, weaving through the car as well. Lopez is able to go through with Fluke. I don't think that Sedgwick is going to be as lucky. No, he's not. As they come into the second horseshoe, you see that Sedgwick almost then gets tagged on the left rear by one of those Mazda MX-5s in your ST division. Sedgwick is able, and he was pushing really hard there, Cam, because he knew that he had to come onto the banking within a second. Otherwise, he would have lost that draft.
Yeah, and well, it's timed aggression. You know what you got to do. You know positions you got to make. Sometimes you just got to really push your way through the field, and I do not mean that literally. So please, if any of the drivers out there listening, that's not what we mean. But for Jamie Fluke, he might have thought that he had it with how aggressive he was being through the distance between International Horseshoe 1 to 2. He was really, really pushing it, and he was hoping that perhaps Juan Lopez could not handle it. But not only did Juan Lopez handle it, but Jack Sedgwick and David Baker handled it as well. So we've still got a 4-car pack. Jamie Fluke, no matter what traffic gets sent his way, it just doesn't seem to be able to break away. And looking at the track, well, he has now got from, well, his corner, which is Daytona 4, all the way till Daytona 2 of space. So he has not gotten away.
No, he's not. We're on board with Stefan Overgaard right now in your GTS division, mainly because he's right behind a huge-ass car of Mike Dam, but also because these drivers are now getting themselves past a little bit of that MX-5 traffic as we're half an hour into this event. And there's a Kia on the outside, running in the middle. It's a bit like it's a bit like driving on a highway during rush hour. Make sure you're in your lane, make sure you pass at the right points. Stefan Overgaard that remains behind Mike Dam for the time being. Actually, Dam and Overgaard have lost a lot through this negotiation of traffic here, Cam. They're now 3 seconds behind Alejandro Sanchez.
Yeah, and for Sanchez, I mean, he was, of course, involved in that incident, and, well, he seems to be trucking. So I guess the statement is build a Ford tough is, at least in this instance, okay. But either way, it's been decent enough to see these Mustangs. They haven't really broken themselves apart. I do see the Mustangs now fully in the MX-5s, which is saying something here. And I will throw out to the field that perhaps the size of the Mustang versus the size of the MX-5s is almost laughable. Because I'm looking at, like, David Haynes right now in that number 57 machine. He's right now behind David Hampson, and the size difference between these two machines. I mean, the size of the engine of the Ford is probably at least the entire front end of the MX-5. I know it's not, but still, it's... it is impressive to see, and I'd almost say if you're an MX-5 driver, you got to kind of be holding that steering wheel, because let me tell you, force of weight, well, if one of these Mustangs hit your MX-5 is going places, and the Mustang, not so much.
I'll tell you what, that is exactly what happened with Fernando Antoli Busquets there, as he's just been passed left, right, and centre. He was right behind Robert Hartley on the run down into the bus stop chicane. But Cam, that's almost like, you know, being passed by a semi as well. With all these cars passing it, it does, and I've done it, I've seen it in these cars. In the draft, these Mazda MX-5s become incredibly light.
Well, they come in underweight anyways. The engines are very small 4-cylinders on top of a car being built that's just very small. These Mustangs, there's nothing small about them, and to understand your own size footprint is something that's important too with multi-class racing. How many times have we seen a prototype car nip one of the GT cars just because it wasn't...
Never happened. Never.
Okay, all right. Hypothetically, if a prototype car wasn't understanding of the aerodynamic bits hanging off their car, hitting the rear end of perhaps literally any car that it tries to pass, then I can only imagine. I will say perhaps that's a good thing that these cars all don't have any real aerodynamics, because they probably would have hit each other right now, unless one of those Fords can manage to hit somebody with that rear wing, which, I mean, I'll give you $5. That's impressive. But I will think another interesting thing to note here, Will, is that between both of these cars, the Mustangs and the MX-5s, which are now currently passing each other, they're both on, like, spec DOT tires, and only the Kias are on slicks.
Yep. And that, of course, would change the durability of these tires as well. Just to let you know, Ricardo Silva has quite a bit of front-end damage. He's taken a walloping in this race already, Jake. Running in second place right behind Jesus Cecilia. But that front end does not look healthy in that number 20 car.
No, it doesn't. And for Ricardo Silva, with no fast repairs, he knows he's going to be down on straight line speed, especially with the engine in the front. So he's now got to be very careful about what now happens for him later on in this one, how long he'll spend on pit road trying to salvage any damage that's on that vehicle. And, well, he's just got to stay within that draft with Jesus Cecilia. I think he won't be in a position to make overtakes. The only advantage is that he's got Sonny Kanchin far and away behind, but from my knowledge of MX-5 racing, Will, Sonny Kanchin is one of the fastest drivers and also one of the best at saving fuel as well.
Guys,
sometimes
I need to stop
life
you.
is not fair.
I need to stop you. Apparently, number 26 machine's giving out free candy and Wi-Fi. Cohen Klopman's car, number 26.
I don't care about the candy,
Just to let you know, Alex Rory as well lost 2 places in towards 1 that last time by Cam, being passed both by Klopman, completely the free candy, and Fabrice Cornelius as well in that very, very pink number 4 car. Apparently, he's banned.
Yeah, yes, something to that effect. I will say... these machines are fairly interestingly painted, expertly done, I would presume, I will have to say. But if we are having a fight between the paint schemes, I will say is right now I've been watching the lead battle in the Mustangs. Mark Perez has been fighting off Tim Claessens from 1 all the way to the horseshoe. I will say the Mustangs probably do take the course. There are some amazing paint schemes out here in the Mustangs, and even the MX-5's got some good ones. Whereas the Kias, there was an effort, you tried.
Yeah. an effort at the very least, as we'll just have a look back in your field. And I say Mark Perez still leads the way in terms of your GTS field. Let's show you your top 8 in class in your ST division right now, because that has been fantastic all day long. Heza Cecilia leads from Ricardo Silva. Gap between those two drivers still within half a second of each other. Sonny Kanchan in 3rd, Oreo Boat in 4th, Robert Hartley in 5th, Fernando Antoni Busquets in 6th place, Ruku Alatalo in 7th, and Brian Holmes rounds out your top 8 in that division. So we are in a situation, we've done over half an hour of the race. Retirees: Ross Balfour, Alexandra Daladon, Moritz Lerner, Darren Nowakowski, Aero Nom, Andrea Perez, and Eric Andre, and Danilo Piazza, which means we still got 50 of the 58 drivers started this event running in this event. So it's all close right now, as we are getting ourselves close to an hour, 45 minutes remaining in this 2 hour and 24-minute event. Let's go and have a look down in your mid-pack in your Mustang division, this GTS division for the moment. Number 38 machine there of Tyler Schiffett. As we go on board with him, he's battling it out with Travis Davis, number 52 machine ahead, and David Haynes, number 57 car, right behind Jake.
Yes, and there's also a vehicle in the middle of that, which is Kevin Ford, who is a lap or 5 laps down on leader, as Haynes wants to get through, and Haynes wants to get through a bit more, and he's not going to let you, so you're going to have to wait a little bit longer here as he heads through the S's section. So there's a lot of waiting here for David Haynes, and well, he'll be hoping that his huge-ass machine may be a little bit slimmer after a little bit more work that he's got to be dealing with, as now Cecilia gets a better run through the corner, and the MX-5 advantage comes into play at being very good at turning, Will.
Yes, indeed so. We've had a number of requests to try and show the Sedgwick paint for today. Beast mode is what I'm going to say there. Not as much as Marshawn Lynch, not as much as Brock Lesnar, but hey, it's still a car with a couple of faces on it. Hey, moving on. Let's go back and have a look in your field, but there's some fantastic battles to say. The Mustang battles are going on. They are amazing. Jeff Jacobs is leading this pack right now as they come onto the banking once again. And just have a look at the top speed that these guys get up to. Don't forget, Jeff Jacobs will not have the draft here of anyone. And we're just going to have a look at the top speed. And these Mustangs in the draft can go up to about 160 miles an hour, Cam.
Yeah, and of course we have to remember these are 5-speed manual transmissions, so it is a bit of a drag race every single time they come off of the corners, because they got to work their way through the gears, they got to hit the revs exactly right, and that makes it at least a little bit more exciting for me. But for Mark Perez, you can see how Tim Claessens, who's just behind Perez, can close right on up, but he doesn't lean up. He just wants to stay behind. I almost wonder if he's trying to perhaps save fuel, because he's already there. He's already made the speed that he's needed to make from the exit of corner number 4. He could run all the way to corner 1 side by side. He'll actually lean a little bit to the inside, but it just seems to me that this front 3 right now, they're either just trying to push themselves away from the rest of the Mustangs, Mike Dam and Stefan Olvengard, who are currently running in 4th and 5th in your Mustang field, or not. I'm not sure, but either way, I think that, well, they really just want to make sure that the cars last a while. I mean, I think some of these guys winding through traffic are somehow perhaps thought that maybe that was the only opportunity, and not that this was a 2 hour and 24-minute race.
Yeah, indeed. So, in fuel-saving strategy here, Cam, it's not going to be like what we're going to see in a week's time at the 24 Hours of Daytona. More flexibility in terms of strategy here today.
Yeah, and, well, it is interesting, because it's kind of going to be feast or famine as far as pits go. The Kias are going to be coming in, like, every 15 to 20 seconds, I presume, for new tires and fuel. The Mustangs, to be honest, I'm not quite sure with the Mustangs, but they have gargantuan fuel tanks and spec tires, and the MX-5s are only going to pit 1 time this entire race. I think for the Mustangs, they might have the opportunity to make a 1-stop, but it's some 20 seconds, because you got to save 2 laps of fuel. So I think as far as it, I would presume it's going to be 2 stops for the Mustangs, 1 stop for the MX-5s, in which case I'm not sure if they're going to get tires. And then the Kias, well, I have seen a couple already come down pit lane. I know Jonas Ovastamaki came down to pit lane, but we'll have to see. I think he might have actually had damage, because his pit time was far longer than it should. But yes, either way, that's kind of how that's going to go.
Victor Smolak there on pit road, doing what I believe is a scheduled pit stop then for him. Pit stop time, taking tyres on all 4. You'll see the stop time on the bottom left of your screen. The overall time is from the yellow cones to the green cones here at Daytona. Still doing his service. Then it's a long service for these Kias as well, as they put the fuel in. It's almost quicker to go down to your local Sunoco station, put your gas in that way, I swear. But you got a number of drivers on pit road. We'll see whether we can get an indication of those drivers as they come out of pit road. You've got Carlos Viegas, Nicholas Lombish there, David Baraclow, Kurt Crum has made a pit stop, and Eunice has also made a pit stop as well, number 51 machine. So we've got ourselves 5 drivers on the lane as we speak, all from your Kia class, Jake.
Yes, and the 40 to 45 minutes that you normally see out of them is what you normally go and get from them. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of chances come into play, and now Jack Sedgwick dives in. Now you got the likes of Jamie Fluke diving in, so Apex and Inex deciding they want to jump, they want to get on the lane, they want to keep on going. But it's so long, these stops. You sort of make the stop and you lose a lap trying to make that stop, look to get back out going again. It's taking quite a long time.
Wait a minute. Technical issues for Heza Cecilia from your lead in your ST division. Issues for Heza Cecilia as we've got a number of drivers on pit road right now. Jamie Fluke is in, Jack Sedgwick is in as we speak. Fluke is doing his service, Sedgwick is doing his service. We expect these guys to be on pit road for about another minute or so. So I'm not just going to sit here and show you these guys as they sit on pit road. We're going to turn our attention to Juan E. Lopez. And there's a reason why some of these drivers might be coming in now, because the amount of traffic that is in play here, Jake. You lose quite a bit of time when you have traffic. So why not come in and try and change it around a little bit?
Exactly, and traffic plays a lot of factor. If you can find a clear pocket of air for a lap or 2 laps, you use it, and you use it more than a lot of people think that you use it. Having clean air, especially in a Kia, is so important, because although you'd like having that bit of traffic, that 1 or 2 vehicles that gives you the extra mile an hour or 2, you have that ability just to relax at this circuit, just bide your time. There's 50 other vehicles that are trying to race around you. You know, you can't always have it your own way. The moment you get a piece of real estate, you know, you kind of want to build a house on it, Will.
Yeah, indeed. So maybe Juan E. Lopez will come on towards pit road this time by. There's a lot of traffic though, and this will be interesting because it could actually block his entry on towards pit road. I will tell you one thing, I have actually had this as an issue once upon a time in my olden days. Lopez is going to come in, slowing it down. Makes it on towards pit road. That's fine. He's easily on the lane. Fluke, by the way, has come out of pit road. Kurt Crum has come out of pit road. Sedgwick is still on the lane. That is one thing worth noting. Jack Sedgwick has only just left. 1 minute 49 second pit stop for him. So I think he might have got a speeding penalty on pit road based upon the fact he was exactly 15 seconds slower than Jamie Fluke. And just look at this as he comes out of pit road. All of this traffic that he is literally going to miss by about 30 feet there, Cam.
Yeah, and actually, Alex Herrera, well, he wishes he was up there, and actually he just takes a bite out of Giuseppe Iannuzzi. And there he drives off Robin Esterson. Okay, not necessarily the most elegant of pit lane exits in the history of pit lane exits, doing about as well as Jeff Gordon has on his debut in the prototype machine, I would presume, that 43 machine anyways. But either way, the MX-5s have gotten themselves sorted out. Everyone else not necessarily happy. Cohen Klotman, Nicholas Labayish, they are now stuck in the MX-5s. They've managed to catch the tail end of it. It's weird to watch these cars interact here in the back of this road section of the circuit, because the Kias just get so much more jump, so much more grip, so much more push. It just almost looks very strange as Cohen Klotman, he's gotten around a couple. Nicholas Labish, he's been trying to get to the outside. There's just so much traffic that it's basically impossible for them to. But either way, I will say I think perhaps Jamie Fluke might have gotten the break he was looking for, because he now is basically on an island all his own.
Yeah, Juan E. Lopez should be coming out of pit road any moment now, in theory. As it stands, Fluke is already ahead. This is because Lopez's stop is already 10 seconds longer than what Fluke's was. It's up now to 15 seconds. revs it up. So he's filling that tank all the way as high as it will go naturally. 148.7 second pit stop there for 1E Lopez back out onto track. Oh, this means I'm going to have to get the strategy pluck out here, Jake. This is going to confuse me all day.
It is, but the longer that they spend here, 45 minutes, I'm putting this on a 3-stop here because you get to about, what, 2:15? You got, what, 9 minutes splash and dash? That's going to be very marginal, I think's the right word. Maybe 46, 47 minutes if you push it. You're still 2 or 3 minutes short. I think you have to fuel save for the 2-stop and hope to coast it around the final part of the circle. Otherwise, you know, you're costing yourself 2 minutes of a lap.
Yeah, and this is going to be very interesting in terms of your Kia field. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for a couple of moments, figure out what is going on with some of these Kias, get a note of these pit stop times. We're going to need them to refer back to later on. As we do so, we're going to take your RaceSpotTV side by side. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible. Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, next week it will be the 24 Hours of Daytona here on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Coverage brought to you in part by our friends also over at V8 Online. Join us from 1 p.m. GMT for all the build-up, all the excitement of the first 24-hour iRacing event of 2018. And dare I say it, actually, Jake, you know everything about esports and iRacing and all that stuff. First 24-hour event in sim racing this year?
It will be.
There we are.
It certainly will be, and it will be the first one to score a certain 700 points, Will.
There we are. Is that in some form of ranking thing that's going on?
Yeah, I don't know who puts those together.
I don't know, but tell me a little bit about it.
Well, if you look at exactly how this race is going, this Raw before the 24, it's a 2 hour, 24-minute race, and it will score some points depending on, you know, it being a broadcaster's race, how strong the field is, and what sort of vehicles are running inside of it. Then you look at something like, say, a 24-hour race, as I was having a look at Clayson's in his scrap with Alejandro Sanchez. A 24-hour race holds a lot of prestige in the World Tours, arguably one of the biggest indicators of who's really up there battling for who and what, and who arguably you could call the best is. So there's some points there.
Yeah, indeed. So as we're just having a look, is you're right, Tim Clayson versus Alejandro Sanchez. Battle for your class lead. Don't forget, you can get social with us here on RaceSpotTV /RaceSpotTV on Facebook. Give us a like, then go on Twitter and follow us at RaceSpotTV. Live timing and scoring is available. Just visit RaceSpot.tv /timing. Keep up to date with your favorite drivers and teams over the course of this 2.4-hour event, as we have seen one driver make a pit stop in your GTS field. That is Mike Dam in the number 36 huge ass car, as no drivers have done a scheduled stop yet in your ST division. We expect only one pit stop from them, as Cam alluded to a little bit early on. So things have calmed down a little bit. Best battle we've got going on in your GT division, that is Jack Sedgwick in the number 10 car, being hunted down right now by Fabrice Cornelius, Cam, and this is for P4 overall.
Yeah, and I think it's been one of these things where the Kias, they have broken away. Jamie Fluke is leagues away. Kurt Crum, he's, I believe he was, yeah, he's running a second position right now. And then you've got sort of this 1, 2, 3. This is pretty much where your front pack is between Cedric, Cornelius, and Baker. And from these three cars, they're going to hopefully, I think, catch up to each other. And once they start doing that, as we'll see Cornelius, he get the overspeed to catch up to Cedric, I wouldn't be too surprised if they don't start working together in some aspects to catch to Lopez. Now, obviously, I believe it is not only Fabrice Cornelius, but Jack Sedgwick all running, seeing as their paint schemes are all... They should at least be, I don't know if they're teammates or whatnot, but at least for this instance. But actually, you know what? Baker's in that too, isn't he?
Yeah, teammates.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I was talking about the quality of paint scheme teammates rather than actual teammates. But I wouldn't be too surprised if I don't see Cornelius and Sedgwick pull to Lopez. But they'll try to leave Baker behind, but I don't think that's going to happen because Baker's right there. So hopefully this 3-car field will become a 4-car field, but looking at the front of your Mustang field, well, there are some Kias behind that we were just talking about.
I'll make your life easier, Cam.
Sure.
Call it Team Secret.
I don't want to.
Should we just, I don't know, call them something?
Something, yeah. I don't know.
Anything?
Either way.
Anything? I don't know. Alejandro Sanchez currently running second place in the class, however, as he is currently about a third of a second behind Tim Clayson's. Looking down, and you see, he's deliberately not taking the draft, knowing the fact there's a Kia there anyway as well, just finding a lane, allowing them to do so, move down to the inside as they come down into the bus stop chicane. But these drivers, as I say, they seem to be trying to save a bit of fuel here, Cam. You talked about this earlier on, that saving fuel, it's one of those old IndyCar things. We want them to race, but actually it's quicker if they don't race right now.
Pretty much. I mean, we got to remember, this is what, we're 1 hour into a 2 hour and 24-minute race as a MX-5 just gets the doors, the roof got blown off of it. There's no roof on it anymore. But here comes the rest of the field, and actually this is getting very tricky. Andy Gorton, the number 11 machine, okay, everyone manages to get by before they go into corner number 1, I was going to say. You've got Kias passing Mustangs, Mustangs passing an MX-5 that never has a good recipe, but they all got that sorted out before they got into corner number 1. But either way, it's one of those things, at least where I'm looking at, where multi-class is starting to take its new form, because rather than going by packs of cars, you're pretty much going by individual machines.
Yeah. It's worth noting, by the way, that you have very little faith in these drivers, Cam.
After the first round number 1 of Kias versus Mustangs going into corner 1, in fact, yes. But you know what, though? They managed to make it work out. I will say the Kias to MX-5 seem to be going at least fairly well, and I think the Mustangs have been pretty decent as well. Hopefully we can continue that, but as we start getting further and further into this race, well, let's see. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, as they'll battle for P3 in your ST field. You've got yourself Busquets actually up into 3rd place behind Aria Bow right now. Of course, this has changed a little bit. We haven't really touched it too much, but race lead was Hector Cecilia all the way for the first 40 minutes of this event, Jake, and then Technical Gremlins has pushed him on towards pit road. Now it's Ricardo Silva who leads by 2 seconds over Ariel Bow, but Bow has got a challenge from that number 28 car behind.
He does for the moment, but the key issue is Ricardo Silva is being reeled in at a rate of 0.6 of a second a lap here, Will. So Ricardo Silva may be leading, but that damage out in front, out on its own, is not doing any favours right now for the driver of Ricardo Silva. He needs draft. He needs to stay with people, and that's just going to bring the likes of Bow, the likes of Antoli, the likes of Kanchin, all back into this battle for the race lead very, very comfortably. And when it comes to that stop, Will, I would not be surprised to see Ricardo Silva the first in, knowing that he's got damage, knowing that aerodynamic effect is affecting his fuel load.
Yeah, indeed. So that will be an interesting thing to note. We've got Baker Cornelius. That one is still going on in terms of your GT field. Baker, number 37 machine, and you've got yourself Jack Sedgwick in your number 10 car. They are still going at it there, Cam, and, oh yeah, there's some traffic ahead. Beep, beep.
Yeah, there's MX-5s. Yeah, toot, toot, honk, honk. But Jack Sedgwick, he tries on the outside of Tony Repoussard. He'll manage to make it work on the exit. Yeah, you know what? I think they managed to clear at least this pack going into the final corner of the road section. Roque Garcia there's on the outside. Robin Esterson got pushed wide there by Cornelius, but that's all right. Everything seems to work out. They've got to the high side, so they should have the good run. I will say this is it's fairly interesting to see the different speed differences. It almost reminds me sort of the late 80s time period of the 24 Hours of Daytona, because back then you had, of course, you know, your GT and GTO and all that, and then you had your prototypes, which are basically Group C machines, racing GT cars, which, while amazing in their own right, were most certainly not under any circumstances speedy compared to what we have now. So seeing these Kias blow by these MX-5s kind of remind me of what some of the pictures looked like back then, with how fast the prototypes were more than the GTs. But you know what? I think for the most part, the MX-5s, looking at how they're battling, they've been mostly chill, and that's a good thing, because the last thing we need is a Kia getting pulled out in front of by an MX-5.
Yep. And again, we've got the highlight and the highway approach. That's what I was looking for. All the Mazdas staying on the inside line, pass on the outside. Nice and easy. Everyone gets themselves through. Hey, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? And Jake and Cam.
Oh.
Take a guess.
Oh, we were supposed to actually... I don't know. I don't have a guess. I'm sorry.
We've done 1 hour of this event. Recap time.
Ooh.
So 1 hour in then. Whoa, let's clean that front. 1 hour in to the Raw before the 24. Jamie Fluke leads overall in terms of your field here today. Kurt Crum second place in your GT field. Third place in your GT field is Juan E. Lopez. The gaps so have opened up because of pit stops. Jamie Fluke did an 89-second pit stop. Kurt Crum did a 75-second pit stop, but this has already opened out over the course of traffic management, pit stop time, so on and so forth. Worth noting that Fluke and Crum might be a little bit lighter on fuel, might have to do another stop compared to Juan E. Lopez, third place in class. In terms of your GTS division, Tim Clayton has led the way pretty much all day. It's been very close between himself, Alejandro Sanchez, Mark Perez for P number 1, 2, and 3. There's now a gap back to Jim Chedlick down in 4th place. He's though got Travis Davis for company. There's also Tyler Shiflett, Jeff Jacobs there in the mix, along with Stefan Overgaard. In terms of your ST field here today, well, that one has been a barrel of fun to watch. We're actually going on board once again with the 3rd place driver, Fernando Buquets. However, the big story in terms of your ST division is the fact that the driver who started on pole position, who led the majority of the way early on, Hesa Cecilia, is out of this event. This is due to technical difficulties. We've also lost a couple of big names in your GTS division, most notably Iro Nom and Adria Perez. They are all out. They also joined drivers like Xavier Sanchez, Ross Balfour, Alessandro Dalladom, Moritz Lohner, who's involved in a crash with Darren Nowakowski earlier on. And Eric Andre is out of this event. And last place right now is last place full stop is Danilo Piazza out of this event. No real pit stops have been seen in terms of your GTS division. No pit stops really in terms of your ST division. So a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking, a lot still to happen in hour number 2 of this event, Jake.
Yeah, and this is the meat, you could say, of the event compared to the 2 slices of bread on either side. And well, the meat of this second hour is going to be about everybody making their strategy play. You're going to be seeing these Mustangs dive down onto the lane if they aren't doing so already. And you're also going to be seeing the MX-5s looking to make that first and only stop of the day too. That's going to be massively crucial when you get right down to the end of it, because there is so much strategy play that you can have, even in the Kias as well, when they're on what is arguably going to be called, Will, a 3-stop strategy, and they're half an hour away from making that next stop. You know, I wonder if Jamie Fluke is just trying to balance out his stops or something like that. Same could be said for Kurt Crum. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking about, actually, as well. As, don't know why that graphic was up there. Just having a look at some of the lap times. Just trying to compare. Jeff Jacobs, for example, is 2 seconds almost, a second and a half slower than his fastest lap of the day, but he is negotiating traffic, so on and so forth right now. Trying to get an indication of how much faster or slower these guys are. In your GTS division, Cam, they're about a second and a half slower than they were at the start of this event.
Yeah, and these tires, I'm sure, will be wearing in. Obviously, they're not invincible tires, but I will say I think this is a bit due to not just the draft that they're having, but also traffic, eventual traffic, because as you can see, the leaders in your GTS, your Mustangs, Tim Clausen's, he has to go around Robert Hartley and Riku Alatalo, which is not a statement I would normally expect to say, seeing as Riku is extraordinarily quick. A couple of Mustangs on pit lane I will see. Thomas Harty, Team GT Mustang, he's getting himself some work. He's exiting pit lane, but it's no surprise that once the track wears itself in a bit, where as far as the cars are all spacing themselves out, different packs of cars, a couple of cars damaged, lap times don't just naturally come down a bit. It's not like you know, dirt racing or anything like that, where things get faster as things get grippier a la rallycross. But either way, I will say, if there's one thing that we've had that's a constant, Will, that's your front 3 or 4 cars in this Mustang battle, because really it's been all day long Tim Clausen, Andrea Sanchez, and Mark Perez.
Yeah, as behind, Travis Davis has fallen out of contention, as has Jim Sedgwick. They've been battling themselves. However, Jeff Jacobs, Stephen Ovengard, David Haynes are still going at it in their respective little battle in their own Mustang GTS battle. By the way, paint scheme of the day, I think number 53 might have to be, is it even number 53 there? Driver I'm looking at is a fantastic little livery there we can see on that one. It is a number 53 machine. And I just have to say, it is fantastic looking, the Jeff Jacobs car, with the kind of tiger effect on it. Of course, he's got the Kurt Busch-inspired paint scheme. I say Kurt Busch. Of course, I don't mean Kurt Busch. I mean Talladega Nights there, Cam. Inspired paint scheme right behind a Tyler Shiflett.
As driven by Kurt Busch.
That's right.
But either way, I will say it is an alligator paint scheme, and I love it. That was going to be my vote if we were going to take it on up, but I enjoy it. how the paint schemes are going. You got a couple of like team paint schemes, which is always great to see, but then you got a couple of perhaps fan paint schemes, like the Tom's Castrol Supra. But I don't think we saw that one in the broadcast. I also think that one's retired at this point. But no, for Jeff Jacobs, I'd have to say it's probably my favorite so far. You know, as far as the Mustangs go, I think really they probably take the field as far as paints go. I will say there is a massive gaggle of MX-5s that they're going to be approaching going up the road. They're going into quarter number 1 right now. It's the car number 30 of Victor Nandez leading about 8 million MX-5s going into 1.
Yeah, and we also saw Ricardo Silva's actually been caught now by Ario Bo and also Fernando Busquets. So we've now got a 3-horse race going on again in your ST division, whilst you've got yourself the GTS cars all trying to scream through at the same time. Number 15, number 16 machine trying to get through. That is your race leader in class. Tim Clayson with Alejandro Sanchez with Mark Perez trying to get past your leaders in your ST division there, Jake.
And what was very interesting is Ricardo Silva went back down the inside of Alejandro Sanchez, which has completely scuppered his chances of staying with the torque freak machine of Tim Clayson's at least half a lap. So that's going to mean that he's going to put himself in that position where he's now not saving fuel, but he's having to use all that ability to catch. But look at how much that you can just drag back here in these Mustangs when you've got the vehicle in front trying to save a little bit. Same can be said for the 4 leaders in terms of the MX-5 field as well. It's fantastic to watch, but again, you have to remember there's a certain Mike Dam who's already made that stop. So Mike Dam may have already put, say, a short stop in to get a long run to the end if the tanks, which apparently are infinite according to Cam, can go that very long way.
Yes, but Mike Dam is going slower than your top 3 drivers right now. That is one thing that we do need to pay attention to. Last time by Tim Clayson's 203.622, Mike Dam 203.925. So Dam is not having the best time of it as it stands. He's still on pace, I would say, for a top 5 in class, but unlikely looking to go to winner's circle in class. Busquets, your top 3 in terms of your ST division. They're still close together, but without traffic, it does look as though that... Oh, no, actually, I say that Ario Bo has actually gone to your lead in class. However, it looks as though that Ricardo Silva might try and go back down to the inside into the International Horseshoe. No, he won't. So Bo now leads this field in your ST division, Cam. New leader.
Yeah. That new leader, and I think as far as the MX-5s, just to tidy up the point, not so good on the paint schemes. You've got an iRacing default paint followed by an iRacing default paint. There is the Black Bull racing machine. I like that one, the number 28, and then you've got Sonny Canchin, of course. But either way, the MX-5s, whatever they don't make up in paint schemes, boy howdy do they make up for it in racing and entertainment. I think pound for pound, the MX-5 probably the most entertaining sports car in the world, in my opinion. You can have the fanciest sports cars you want. You can have your McLaren P1s, whichever, but on every weekend there are more MX-5s racing around the world than any other sports car combined, and I think we go to show that.
You talked about SSCA. Actually, don't forget the Global Mazda MX-5 Championship presented by Battery. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. It's the I'm going to get it right because I've commentated on these races. It is the BF Goodrich Global Mazda MX-5 Championship. It's the other way around. It's the Battery Tender Global MX-5 Championship presented by BF Goodrich. They're actually now under the IndyCar lineage, not SSCA.
Well, I was about to say, well, I think it's still SCCA led, but yeah, they are part of the IndyCar Road to Indy, and they used to, of course, race with IMSA at one point, I believe, under tow, but not any longer. Happy to see them with the MX-5s, of course. Mazda involved in IndyCars, at least to some extent, as Ricardo Silva, he wants his lead back again, and actually, I think Fernando Busquets wants some of this. No, he does not, so that 28 car will sit in the back. But I will just say these MX-5s, they do have the Nationals sometimes here at Daytona. They do run them at night, oddly, which I think is probably one of the most frightening things you could ever see. But you know how there can be poor track illumination. Silva, he just goes completely wide. I don't need to commentate on it. You can see that. There are so many cars on the track that the track is basically illuminated. You could shut the lights off and nobody would lose anything. That's how many racing machines are on circuit with these MX-5s. But I will say, they put on a great show on their own, but I do see, out of the corner of my eye, Jamie Fluke. He wants us to go back to talking about him because he's going to arrive on the scene.
Yep, there is Jamie Fluke then. We'll go on board of him. Just to let you know, a couple of people in your ST division have come on towards pit road. We've got ourselves Giuseppe Inuaki on pit road right now in the number 12 machine. You've also had pit stops completed by Brian Holmes, Robin Esterson, John D. Allen, Tony Reposard. Rico Alatalo had a very long pit stop, actually. 2 minutes, 2 seconds. I'm going to put it out there, Jake. Either that was a vodka run or a toilet run.
We may or may not find out, subject to what happens, or it could be that he's decided to change everything and then stop for maybe a bit of tea, I guess you'd say, in Finland right now.
Maybe. As coming out of pit road, there is Giuseppe Inuaki from Club New York. 44-second pit stop, 105 total on the lane for him. So about a quarter of your ST field have now made their service. Everyone's made a service in terms of your GT field. Your GTS field is one we're still waiting for most people to do their service overall. Worth noting that Bo Silver, etc., that is still very, very close, but also it's still very, very close in terms of your GTS battle. We have got a battle going on, though, still in your GT field. That is Cedric versus Baker versus Cornelius, P number 3, P number 4, P number 5 in class there, Jake.
Yeah, and Fabrice Cornelis at the back of this train in the number 4 machine will want to, as quickly as possible, just get right up to the back of David Baker in the CQR machine. Just get as close as possible, no worries, and just make sure that they are working all together, because what they need to do over this next stint is, in fact, I have been completely taken apart with that because Kurt Crumb's come in for a second stop already, is that they just need to work on it, just need to stay together, don't do anything silly, don't do anything daft, and they'll have Juani Lopez come back into play for them, because they're 4.5 seconds back right now, and they are running very similar pace here, so make the traffic work for them. But Vendaval typically have struggled with traffic, and it will all be fine and dandy and rosy by the end.
On YouTube, actually, Hannah, well, it does make a very good point. The Finns drink coffee, not tea. Actually, the Finns drink more coffee per person than any other nation in the world. There's your random fact for the day there, Cam.
Well, I was actually about to I'm no joke, I was literally going to ask you for comment on that, so it's a good thing that you're one step ahead of me there. I've been watching the MX-5 battle for the lead.
Sanchez has just got himself past Clayson's down at the bus stop chicane. We were looking at it. I was thinking, wait a minute, this is a little bit different. Clayson's has lost the lead in terms of your GTS division. Replay up, we saw it live. It didn't click for about 5 seconds, but Clayson's lost the lead in GTS there, Cam.
Yeah, and of course, there's a machine that has a RaceSpotTV sticker on it's currently leading, so, you know, no problems there. As actually, everyone's leaning into pit lane, and here comes Mark Perez, Tim Classes. They're having a drag race into pit lane, and actually, Angelo Sanchez, the last second, he'll lean on down, and he managed to pull a very large gap going into pit lane. It was a bit of a drag race there. Perez, he gets the position over Tim Classens. That will have implications further on down the road.
Sanchez
I mean
overshoots.
that literally at the end of pit, and then, yeah, well, and I do mean actual implications when they get down there. They're getting tires. Mark Perez is, and we got to remember this is 5 studs and a jack. So full pit stop, full NASCAR pit stop. No surprises here when it is, of course, the Daytona International Speedway. But they'll get their work, they'll get their fuel, and looks to me, I see a large field of MX-5s going through, which means that in but a few moments' time, when they do leave, they're going to have some traffic.
Yeah, indeed so. So you'll just see, though, looking, Sanchez is the driver in the middle of this 3-horse battle. He's going to lose to Clayson's. Clayson's is going to lose out in turn to Mark Perez. So they come in and they've all changed positions over the course of that pit stop. That is interesting to note. Now it is Perez who leads from Clayson's, from Sanchez. Of course, Mike Dunn, by the way, is, after making his pit stop ahead, but he was 14 seconds fast on his pit stop. So alternate strategy there, Jake.
Yeah, I think that is the case. We did see Rico Alatalo as the three came out making a spin, and yeah, a little bit of help. Yeah, a little bit of help there, Cam, for Alatalo. He won't be best pleased by that, but I think that's very crucial for Mike Dam. If he is trying to go on a two-stop strategy here, I think he may be going the right way for it, because they are 1 minute 14 into this race, and if he has to go for that next stop, it's going to have to be a very quick splash and dash for Mike Dam. I'm not sure he even started with enough fuel, but he's going to be costing himself probably somewhere upwards of maybe, Will, 30 seconds, maybe 35 seconds overall in this race. I think overall it's a gamble from Mike Dam.
Yeah, Ricky Atulu, as we saw there, just having a look at on the replay of him, he got turned around by the number 54 machine up there. That was the driver of Whitcore Smolisk in the number 54 car from Central Eastern Europe. Literally, it was a case of meep, meep, coming through, bashing Rico Alatalo out of the way into turn number 2. So that's what happened there. But, so Perez now out front, and also he's got a second in the car in play here. So he's got a little bit of wiggle room to work with. Can Perez, do you think, Jake, maybe just try and use this as an opportunity to pull out second and a half? See, maybe if he can actually get himself clear of these two.
But he needs to, because the moment he breaks the draft on the likes of a Tim Clayson's, on the likes of an Alejandro Sanchez, he can run away for the hills. And Marc Perez knows that if he can run, he'll be there. But what we are seeing is Jamie Fluke, your race leader, down in on the lane for his second stop, on schedule, on cue. So no real worries about that. So we'll see how long it will take Jamie Fluke to get back out and away again.
Yep, time to get the pen out. Take some notes for once.
Hourglass.
Yeah, hourglass is it. You're right there in these Kias. So last time it was 89 seconds that he was on pit road for. That was just doing his pit stop. The lane-to-lane time we don't count in terms of this conversation. So he's already up to 80 seconds. It'll be likely he will do similar, around 90 to 95 seconds by my watch, as he ticks over now to 85 seconds. 88.1 seconds then out and away for Jamie Fluke. So he will need to do one more stop there, Cam. That's confirmed.
And big trouble for him it's going to be, he's leaving pit lane safely. He doesn't have anyone around him per se, but literally an entire field of MX-5s that are really fighting each other, including Jeff Jacobs, Tyler Shavit, Kevin Ford, Jim Shedlick, and Travis Davis. They are all just ahead of him, as well as David Haynes. So for Jamie Fluke, he probably just got past them maybe a lap ago. Well, he's going to have to do it all over again. And let me tell you, these Mustangs, they are starting to race fairly significantly here for position.
Yep, so what that means is Juan Lopez is once again your race leader in class, in overall today even, in the number 3 machine. Sedgwick in second place, Baker in third. Worth noting that Crum has made his second stop already. His second stop, though, was 110 seconds. I still think he needs to make a third stop as well here today, Jake.
Well, it's a full stop, and if you really say you can get 50 minutes out of it, so I think Kurt Crum has tried to put maximum fuel in now to try and get as short a fill for the final stop as he needs to, but that alternative run from Kurt Crum, it got him up to second with a short stop, but I think he's doing the long stop now to try and put himself back into a realistic position so he knows where he's fighting for the end. Yep,
so there we are looking at Fluke. He's going to get one of these Mustangs, the GTS cars, on the banking. He's going to get a lot of them, though. I would say midway through the next lap. That might hurt Baker a little bit. Let's go back and have a look at your battle going on in your ST division. Oreo Bo still leads. Ricardo Silva second. Busquets in third place. Although, you still got Sonny Kanchin. We've not really talked about Kanchin at all today, Jake. But he has stood there. He's just been hanging around, waiting for someone to come along, waiting for an incident around him. He could really be your dark horse on that number 2 car.
Well, I've been saying it all race long. I like the way that Sonny Kanchin drives. He's one of the fastest drivers in the world in an MX-5. He's also one of the most fuel-efficient drivers in the world in an MX-5. So if anybody can go quicker on the line to line, you don't want Sonny Kanchin in that train. By far and away, he's normally the man who looks to break away. And with them all scrapping out in front, Kanchan's sitting. Kanchan's just waiting. He's got Andy Gorton a lap down behind him, which he doesn't really need to worry about. But on the run to the bus stop, he's going to see Oriel Bowe defend here the race lead as he goes straight hard into the inside there and keep that position. But I think the thing for Sonny Kanchan is in that Asbury Motorsports machine, sit, wait. The time will come, and it will come on his in-lap, his pit stop, and then his outlap as well.
Yeah, Isaac Price, just to let you know, has just completed a service. 1 minute 48 seconds. A lot of these drivers now doing their second stop. Isaac Price coming out then. Pit stop time, say 1:48. Lane entry to lane exit. That was 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Just keeping an eye out on this MX-5 field, because if they are going to come in, I would say it might well be in the next 5 or 6 minutes here as we tick over to an hour to go, Cam, just so that they can get themselves a bit of respite, get themselves ready for that dash to the line.
Yeah, and, you know, as Silva, it seems to me that whenever I get the call, Silva pushes wide in corner number 1. But here comes the leaders in your Mustangs and the leaders in your MX-5s, which is going to present interesting issues here because these Mustangs are fighting for position and they have no qualms doing as such as Andy Gorton. He will end up giving them plenty of room in his number 11 machine. But either way, it's going to be fairly straightforward. 5 lugs, and then you've got the old VP fuel jug that comes out. No fuel hoses here or anything like that. Same thing with the Kias. That's actually why the Kia fueling takes so long. It's such a massive tank, and they need the jugs of fuel rather than a hose or anything like that. But either way, these Mustangs cutting their way through these MX-5s, and they're doing it nicely.
Yep, fantastic look there from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design. And, well, let's talk about the special event calendar, of course, for 2018, because we have got not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 big endurance races next on our schedule, Jake. And that starts, of course, with the 24 Hours of Daytona in 1 week's time. Then we go ourselves over to Bathurst for 12 hours for the first time ever in iRacing special event history. That'll be on the weekend of the 10th and the 11th of February. The Sebring 12-hour a month later, the 10th and 11th of March. The Nürburgring 24 hours on May 5th and 6th.
Well, very, very busy schedule coming up. And, of course, 12 and 24-hour races aren't too uncommon. But I am very excited to see the Bathurst 12-hour come into play. Of course, replacing the Bathurst 1000 that we traditionally got to see with the V8 supercars.
Come on,
and
Jake,
I think
I'm not allowed to talk about that. Remember it.
It's a good decision, though.
Yeah.
I think it's going to bring more people into these World Tours. It's going to be more, as I take an eye at who's coming down onto lane. That's Ricardo Silva looking to make that dive. So first the leaders in your MX-5s coming in. But I think it's a good decision that this calendar is very heavy towards the 12 and 24-hour events. Still got some very good events like this Raw, for example. The 6 Hours of the Glen is always very good. And I tell you what, Knoxville Nationals as well.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, we've also got the biggest event in the entirety of sim racing as well. I'll talk about that one a little bit later on, shall we? Ricardo Silva, as we say, he is on pit road, taking tyres on the right side. Now he'll do it on the left-hand side as well. This will be a good indicator in terms of what the leaders are likely to be doing, and also the guys around comparing to their pit stop times. Fastest so far today has been Brian Holmes in the number 25 machine. That was a 33.5 second stop. This one, 32.2 out and away for the driver Ricardo Silva. There is your benchmark, Cam.
And it was tires indeed as well. So full crew got out there. Apparently the MX-5 crew gives the Kia's crews wedgies and takes its lunch money because, boy almighty, that was a very quick pit stop indeed. Kurt Crum will be right behind Ricardo Silva. He should be able to easily make his way through, however. So for Silva, they did a little bit of front body work. They probably took out the old duct tape, got that thing sorted out. But either way, for Ricardo Silva, we will see just if he can run the undercut right now. But the problem is he's going to be all by his lonesome as Kias are on pit lane once again.
Yep. I want to keep an eye out, though, on these MX-5s. One thing to note is Sonny Kanchan there actually had lost about a second and a half to Busquets and Bowe. So maybe I want someone to check this one up, but I've got a feeling there, Jake, he overshot the bus stop chicane, because that's equivalent to what about a 2-second deficit would be. I'm also worth noting, when do these two drivers come on towards pit road? Will it be this lap? Will it be next lap? Because, of course, now you've got yourself Silver running all by himself.
Yeah, I think for Sonny Kanchin, it was the case that he was gapped during the lapping process from the Mustangs, so that's what's put him back a second and a half. And no takers down onto the lane this time, as coming out of pit road will come Fabrice Cornelis to get out his second stop done in the Kias. I think it's going to be very crucial here for Oriol Bowe to know when to come in. He won't feel threatened by Fernando Antoli, but the crucial fact is, even though the tyres don't normally go off too much in an MX-5, there's fresh rubber on that machine for what is going to be the driver of Ricardo Silva.
Yep, Jack Sedgwick comes out of pit road then. Pit stop time for him, 1:23.7. He should be good-ish to the end of this motor race. I say the word ish for the moment. Keeping an eye out on Alex Royer. This is a 1 minute 45 second pit stop. He's putting a full tank of fuel into that car, out and away, 147.9. Now, Cam, he might just be good enough to go to the end of this one.
Well, I see Cornelius, who was on pit lane, left way earlier, so I would presume then perhaps we will need to see, will Alex Royer be able to make the end of the race? Will Cornelius need to come into the pit lane, or will Cornelius make his way through the entirety of the race and Royer end up overfueling? But either way, he comes out also around Ricardo Silva, so Silva getting all sorts of finding himself surrounded by Kias on all sides, but either way, it's going to be a decent battle. And also, we got to remember tires. 1 lap on a set of tires might actually mean something here in these Kias with just how much they get used.
Especially at the end of the motor race here. Juani Lopez, we've got an eye out on him. He is on pit road right now. Fantastic camera angle here. You can see all the way down pit road, but also you can get a look down at the run towards turn number 1 with all of these drivers. Just keeping an eye out then at that time by Juani Lopez. He should be out in the next 20 seconds or so. Still, of course, we're waiting for most of your ST division to come on towards pit road. As out his way, by the way, comes Lopez. 134.7. Interesting as to where he's going to come out, because he may well be side by side. In fact, he will be side by side with Cornelis. Coming out of pit road, just loses out by a length and a half there, Jake. But fresher tyres, and look, he's actually trying to go side by side on the run down into the kink. Not a good idea.
Well, they're two teammates normally at Vendaval Sim Racing, so Juani Lopez knows how good Fabrice Cornelis can be as a driver. Not going to make it happen as they make the run, and it may just be that Cornelis is now going to have to work hard because he doesn't get the run off the exit. Here they go side by side, and they're going to head onto the oval in just 1 moment's time. So there was a chance, but chance went to begging.
Yeah, and these guys still aren't able, so they all still have to make another pit stop as Andre Loganov there is on track. Is Isaac Price? Isaac Price has had an issue by the looks of it. In fact, I want to turn the cameras back on this one because Isaac Price has just had an issue of sorts. I think he's been involved in a crash. Let's have a look. We'll just reround the tape quite a bit there, but Isaac Price is dropping down our timing and scoring screens. Something seems to have happened to that number 9 machine. We're on board with him. This is down towards turn number 1, where I think something did happen. Keeping an eye out. Slowing it down for turn number 1. Oh. That, okay, was weird. We'll move on, shall we? Because I can't really explain that one. Jamie Fluke leads right now. David Baker is on pit road. I want to keep an eye out on the lap times most recently between your race leader, Mike Dam, who has been leading this race ever since pit stops because he came in earlier and he took less fuel than everyone else. He's currently 20.9 seconds ahead of Mark Perez. But Jake, here is a look at the lap times. And you notice the fact, actually, Mike Dam has been pulling away just a little bit.
But it all depends, though, on how much of a gap he can get, because if he has to come down, make another stop, he may be needing probably 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds, Will, to get himself in, out, and going again. I don't see him making 20 seconds of time up against these sorts of caliber drivers, as Marc Perez has to deal with Alejandro Sanchez. It will have to take some fighting between these three, and Tim Clayson's waiting in 4th position. He's not going to be here fighting. He's going to be waiting and picking for the drag race that comes at the end of the race.
Yeah, indeed so. 54 minutes. Well, 53 minutes plus, of course, a lap now remaining in this. The Raw before the 24 on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. We are waiting for pit stops for your ST division, but we're going to step aside then for a couple of moments here on RaceSpotTV. We'll take your RaceSpotTV side by side. We'll be back with more after this.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
Welcome back, as Sonny Kanchin has just made himself a pit stop then. Number 2 machine out and away. Ricardo Silva was 8 seconds faster on his pit stop compared to Sonny Kanchin, however. So Silva looks as though he's going to not only maintain the lead of this motor race here, Jake, but have the lead by about 7 seconds.
And not only that, but Oriol Bowe came down onto the lane, completely missed his box, and went straight back out again without making a touch of making a stop. So he'll have to come round, come back in again, presumably. That is if he has enough fuel in the tank to make that happen. So massive disaster moment. So all eyes on Fernando Antoli here, who needs the stop to stop the rot of Ricardo Silva. Sonny Kanchin's got work to do if he wants to win this one. But 8 seconds in the stop, it's surprising to see a long stop from Sonny Kanchin in comparison to a rival.
Yeah, let's get the replay up then from Oriol Bowe, because I was wondering whether it was our timing and scoring that had an issue. But this is him coming on towards pit road then, the first time around. So he slows it down. I think he just forgot where he was supposed to be. You see, he angled that car, and you get to a certain point that you reverse too much, you're going to be disqualified from the race cam. So all of a sudden, he ends up having to drive all the way through pit road, back out again, and that has cost him a shot at class victory. In fact, that's cost him a shot at a class podium.
Yeah, that has just ruined everything. That's added like about another minute. Now, you can see I was about to mention, hopefully before we got there, we are using the entirety of pit lane. A lot of road course drivers are not used to this. simply because you don't normally run some 60 cars on pit lane. So you are not used to what perhaps the stock car drivers would be used to, whereas you use the entirety of the pit stall. So Oreo Bowl has gotten his pit stop. It's one less lap of fuel he is going to need, but that is certainly not going to gain him anything, as Fernando Biscuits will pull away in his number 28 machine. And a couple of other MX-5s. We are obviously using the entirety of pit lane for every class, basically, simply because of how many cars we have.
Yeah, 58 out of a total 60 that is possible to be had. So that means that it's very, very tight and compact on pit roads. Bo comes out from his stop, 45 seconds. We've also got ourselves Enrique Garcia to have a race. Well, we've not even talked about Garcia all day long, Jake. That shows the quality of the racing here today.
And Roque Garcia of Positive Sim Racing is arguably Positive Sim Racing's best multi-tool driver when it comes to putting himself into anything. So Roque Garcia having a quiet race, but still very impressive what he's been able to do overall. And in terms of those MX-5s, it is still advantage Silva. It is then advantage Kanchin, because Fernando Antoli is behind even Sonny Kanchin. So my questioning now is, does Ricardo Silva even have enough to finish this one?
Yes.
I'll take your word.
Can I throw this out there? We have not talked about Kaimo Soimonen at all either, and he's second running in the MX-5s.
He is, well.
Has he pitted yet?
Kaimo Soimonen, I'm a bit confused as to what you're talking about here in terms of the ST division.
Well, I feel like okay, on my results screen, he was running, okay. On my results screen, it was running second, and then once I contemplated with the old JRT, in fact, yes, he's back in 7th position. I was going to say, because he had all of a sudden just pushed himself up into the 2nd position there on the results screen anyways. Of course, the results only get updated once every lap, which
this is why you need to use ATV like us.
It's over there sitting on the left. I was on the track map because I like to see when the leaders are approaching traffic. But yes, I don't have that.
I'm bored now. Let's move on there, Jake.
Ouch. Wait, where's the pop-up for
the number 7, as you say there, for Kaimo Soimonen. But Mike Dam has continued to close and to increase that gap over Tim Clayson by about another second. Perez is in 3rd. Alejandro Sanchez is in 4th place in class. But worth noting that still a lot of question marks around where Mike Dam is going to come out after this pit stop. I've got a feeling he will be 4th because there's a pretty big gap between Mark Perez and between Alejandro Sanchez and Travis Davis, who runs 5th place in class right now, Jake.
Yeah, there is. So even if he doesn't make it work, he'll still have a gap. As I had a look at Alejandro Sanchez have a little wiggle as he was maybe a little bit tentative onto the brakes or running into the back of Mark Perez. You can't afford to have that happen too many times because it will come back and bite you at some stage if you are not too careful. It now goes to set a point. Can the driver of Mike Dam run the border, and if he needs to make a second stop, splash and dash before what you could argue the cops of Clayson, Perez and Sanchez come and get back to him?
Yeah, indeed so. 45 minutes remaining in this event. We'll run you through your entire field in just 1 second's time. One of the things we've noticed, we're not actually giving you an on-board lap all day. Let's give you a lap now on board with your overall race leader, Jamie Fluke, RaceSpotTV fan immersion. And there's a lap then on board with your overall race leader. That is Jamie Fluke in the number 8 Apex Racing UK machine. Going to be interesting to note as well, Cam, what's going to happen, because Fluke's coming earlier than most of the people around him. He will actually be on pit road, arguably in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, 45 minutes in the tank, so he should be coming in. I think he's going to try to run the tank just as dry as he possibly can. Now, the question for me, I think it's understated that the tires get done long before the fuel gets done. So, obviously, I think everyone's going to be getting tires, but it is just going to be interesting to see when these decisions happen, because everyone will make it to the mark, but it's how long people past that mark go that's going to be interesting.
As Fabrice Cornelius versus Juan E. Lopez, that's still going on for second place in Class Jake. And well, Cornelius has been actually very calm throughout this entire race. We've seen him make a couple of little half moves over his teammate, but nothing really too substantial. Maybe I'm thinking, these two are thinking, okay, we've got Apex Racing UK ahead of them. Let's try and find a way of one of us getting into a position at least where we can beat them.
Exactly. It doesn't matter who wins it out of the Vendaval drivers. It's going to be about how they get to win it, because Jamie Fluke arguably is one of the best specialists when it comes to, say, the Kia Optima than arguably Ross Balfour has been, or even David Baker is, in terms of what their specialty lies in. And I mean, you can talk to myself about it. You can also talk to another person at RaceSpotTV known as Paul Smith, who knows a heck of a lot about Kias and a heck of a lot about how Jamie Fluke is one of the quickest drivers when it comes to a Kia Optima. It's going to come down to a strategy play. It comes down to how long Jamie Fluke has to stay on the lane at the end, and it all relies now on whether Fabrice or Juan can find a way to close down 13 seconds of time, and in fact 0.4 of a second got knocked off of that lap by Juan E. Lopez.
Yeah, meanwhile, you've got yourself Travis Davis from Club Indiana versus Jim Chedlick still going on for P5 in your GTS division. You've got yourself Tim Clayton's Mark Perez that's going on P2 in GTS. In terms of your ST division, I want to have a look at these lap times between Ricardo Silva and Tony Kanchin, because they have come down dramatically over the course of the last couple of laps. Look at this. A total time gained of 4.5 seconds in 2 laps. You know what, Jake? You might well have been right. Maybe Silva hasn't got enough in the tank.
Well, here we go. I'm not all smoke and mirrors, but I sometimes do know what I'm talking about. So Sonny Kanchin all of a sudden now sees his target in front, and if he wants to be really bold and clever, he'll just sit behind and wait and go, yeah, you've now dropped back to try and get to me. Now you've got to go, because I'm not going to let you go through. I'm not going to let you fuel up. But look at this. Sonny Kanchin's going to go, nope, I'm going to try and drive for the lead, and you've got to try and keep up with me. So they know the threat of Fernando Antoli just behind. They know, or in Sonny Kanchin's case, he knows he's got to keep on trucking.
Yep, so here we are then. Silva relinquishes the race lead to Sonny Kanchin as they come through 2 with 39 minutes remaining in this event. So we've had another lead change in our ST division. Of course, those of you just joining us, Cesar Cecilia led for the first part of the motor race, but technical issues kind of caught him out, unfortunately. He will not take any further part in this event. That made it at one point a 4-horse battle between Kanchin, Silva, Busquets and Bo. It's kind of egged out a little bit. Busquets is still there in the mix. He's currently 1.7 seconds behind Ricardo Silva. Silva is clearly the slowest driver out of all of these right now. Oriol Bo, however, is for the time being not likely to make the podium unless the driver ahead either makes a mistake or, in Ricardo Silva's case, maybe runs out of fuel. Back to your battle in GTS. Tim Clayton's Mark Perez, Alejandro Sanchez. 3 drivers separated by 0.4 of a second. And what is Rico Alatalo there doing in the background? I'm not quite sure, but it might deserve ourselves a little bit of a quick replay as we go on board with him. Oh, okay.
Just
moved
went
to
on vacation.
Yeah. It's like the GRC track anywhere around here. Hi guys, someone help me out? Bit lost? Nope. Okay, he carries on.
He's fine. He knows where he's going.
Yeah. We have, however, got a side-by-side. We've got... so I'll take that back. It's not side-by-side. But Perez versus Clayson's. They are nose to tail right now. Sanchez was thinking about making a move. Perez moves himself to the outside, of course, if Clayson's pushes wide. This could open the door to Sanchez or Perez. But still P2, P3, P4. They are running very closely together. And also there, Cam, they're not losing any more time to Mike Dam out front.
Yeah, and, well, it's not like Mike Dam has got a massive lead or anything like that. There is one lapped Mustang between the two. But, I mean, it's what, probably 10, 15 seconds if I had to take a gander?
21.
But either way, for Claessens and Perez and Sanchez, he had to get way on the binders before he would impact that rear wing of the Mustang ahead of him. But either way, it looks to me like these guys are understanding that, you know what, fighting for position, cool. Fighting for position, fun. Let's chase down the leader, though. That is, however, much more important.
Busquets is back into play in your ST battle. He's closed up to the rear of Ricardo Silva. Now, interesting to note here that Silva could do with allowing him pass if he's light on fuel as well, Cam, because drafting 2 is better than 1. Busquets, however, is going to not do so as into turn number 7 as they come into the banking once again. But Busquets all of a sudden was the fastest driver in your SC division. All of a sudden, it looks as though these guys want to have a grandstand finish.
Well, Jamie Fluke ended up taking the line away from Sonny Cancian. That allowed, I think, both Fernando and Ricardo to start catching up. But yeah, you can even see under draft, Ricardo is still falling back. He just does not want to really let that engine go just because he is either trying to save fuel or perhaps something has happened that we missed. I don't believe so. Car looks fine. There's a little bit more rear end damage, I think, than it had previously, but that wouldn't affect top end at all. So either way, it's just going to be one of those situations where we've got 3 MX-5s ready to rock and roll for the fight for the lead here towards the end, just as we've got 3 Mustangs trying to chase down 1 leader, and really it's only the Kias that have really separated.
I literally just had a kind of extraterrestrial moment there. Take us to your leader. That is the situation with Tim Claessens, Mark Perez, and Alejandro Sanchez. They are, though, 22 seconds behind Mike Dam in the huge-ass car, number 36. You see that he's just been passed by one of those. In fact, nope, that's a lie. He is coming up to put a lap on someone in that GTS field. Zoom in, have a look at that number 36 machine, which is very unhelpfully also got a number 93 on it, just to make ourselves a little bit more confused there, Jake.
Yeah, and Mike Dam there just letting himself get lapped there by Andrei Loganov, so the 45 machine gets back out and going and keeping on this train. But it's been very much a flip-flop here for Mike Dam. He's matching the sort of times Claessens and Perez are doing, and in fact, right now what Tim Claessens needs to be thinking of is, you know, I'm not going to be shaking these guys, but I'm having to do all the work here with Mike Dam. Come on, someone come along, someone come and help me. I think that's the issue that Tim Claessens has, because he's using more fuel now, just dragging everybody along, and it's like having an angry group behind you that don't really want to be working. It's almost like having a class of year 8 children. Yeah,
pretty much. For those of you in America, that would equate to about the 6th grade, I think. As just having a look through behind, you've got battles going on in the rear part of your GTS field still. Thomas Stockman's scrapping it out with Timmy Ayes and Matthew Prudhomme as well. Prudhomme, of course, had himself a moment earlier on in this motor race, which is why he's down in your field right now. As also, in terms of your GT field, these Kias, Cam, the reason why we're not talking about them at the moment, because there's nothing to report, although they will still all have a pit stop to go as Fluke is in.
Yeah, let's see if he well, he doesn't have any problems finding his pit stop. It's the first one. But interesting to note, Juan Lopez, he will go around Fabrice Cornelius, he will go around. Jack Sedgwick, we'll see if he will follow in. He's 28 seconds behind Jamie Fluke at the timing of last lap. So let's see. Nope, Sedgwick, he's staying out. Klopman looks to be probably staying out as well. And Baker, he's on the bus stop. So Jamie Fluke just pulling into pit lane. He'll get himself his service started. And the real question is, in like a minute and 20 seconds time, where on earth is that machine going to pull out as far as traffic goes?
Yeah, back to your ST division. Sonny Kanchin still leads, but has not been able to pull away from Fernando Antoni Busquets or Ricardo Silva. Silva fell back about 7 seconds as they're behind. We've got an incident.
It's the battle between Kevin Ford, David Haynes, and Jeff Jacobs, and it's not much of a battle because Ford's a lap down. So Jeff Jacobs, I think, went, well, that's my line. You're not really running here, as they were going 3 wide into the corner. Ford did not see him at all and turned right into Jacobs' nose from that crocodile car of Jeff Jacobs. A little opportunistic, and that allowed David Haynes and that Hugh Jass machine to really work his way through. So either way, positions lost between Haynes and Jacobs.
Yeah, as Jacobs, you see, that does lose that position. As a consequence of that, loses 2 positions actually to David Haynes in there. So that was a close one, but you're battling in UST division while they are still all behind as a consequence of that. Sonny Kanchin, Busquets and Silva, but we're now going to have our GTS cars. They are going to go to the high side. They're going to go 2 wide, 2 deep as they come towards the bus stop chicane. Thankfully for everyone, they are going to get single file before they get down there. And Kanchin will be able to just slot back into line. I don't know what's more surprising though, Jake, here. The fact that Kanchin has, of course, made that pass over Silva, or the fact that Busquets has been able to close up as well and is still right on the rear of Kanchin. Kanchin's not been able to pull away.
I wouldn't call it surprising, but I definitely would call it grandstand in terms of a driver who is very good in clutch situations. I've seen Sonny Kanchin produce more than maybe Fernando Antoli has, but don't count Antoli out of this situation at all. I think that Antoli definitely has the ability to go make it happen, and he's playing his strategy card right to the T here and making sure that he will make Sonny Kanchin wait right up until the final lap, I reckon. And just out of the bus stop, I think, is where we're going to see Fernando Antoli try and make his move.
Drag race to the start-finish line and say Fernando has not even tried to make the move as of yet, as they come back down into the international horseshoe, that long 180-degree right-hander. And you can see that Busquets is still staying there. Silva is still staying there as well. I'm wondering, though, Cam, with the pace that's being run here today, whether or not that is something that is still making too much fuel being used for the driver of Silva, as also Fabrice Cornelius is also on pit road for the final time today in the number 4 car.
Yeah, and one thing I have noticed, just kind of as an aside right in front, I saw Tyler Schefflett. He lost his rears, and I think these Mustangs are really starting to lose traction with their rear tires. But either way, yes, back to the primary point here. Silva is losing ground. He is lap after lap. I actually think he's lost the draft now entirely, but he's going to have some Mustangs to kind of take a little bit of draft from. But I think at this point, if you knew you were going to have to save this much fuel, why don't you just come in and take a splash, I suppose? I mean, he seems to be losing time hand over fist last lap. It was only a couple of tenths slower. Maybe the deltas are nothing there, as actually he is getting driven on both sides. One side by a Kia, the other's by a Mustang as they go into the bus stop, Ricardo Silva. So talk about that gap. Well, just exponentially make that much larger now.
Yeah, as Juani Lopez, there is his service commencing. We're not going to show you the entire thing because, of course, these services will take a while. What we want to know is, of course, where will Lopez come out in relation to Jamie Fluke at the end of this one, Jake?
Probably about 6 seconds back, I'd put on my numbers, but it all depends on how much fuel's going into the Juani Lopez machine, and I expect him to put maybe less in than someone like, say, Fabrice Cornelius has already done. Jamie Fluke's already on that banking, so he will be looking to just mow down time again and again and again. But if that was anything to go by on this stint, I think Jamie Fluke has to be worried now for the last 25, 30 minutes or so, because That time was coming down tenths of a second and multiple tenths of a second a lap. That gap is going to close. Jamie Fluke is going to have potentially some squeaky bum time by the end.
Yeah, as you just see there, the time remained for Juani Lopez up to 85 seconds. It shouldn't be much more than this. Jamie Fluke did 95 seconds, and that was a couple of laps ago. So Juani Lopez should be able to put less fuel in. He's still, okay, 94.4 seconds then for Juani Lopez. And he's out and away now.
Ahead.
And he's ahead of Fluke. The reason for that is actually, I was looking at the wrong statistic. He was 75 seconds in terms of his pit stop time, 94 seconds overall. Jamie Fluke was 94 seconds on his pit stop alone there, Jake.
Exactly, and that 20 seconds comes back, and Jamie Fluke now with traffic suddenly needs a little bit of help from someone out on circuit to give Juani Lopez a little bit of a shunt here or there if he wants a chance of winning, because Juani Lopez suddenly, a 12-second gap before the stops, suddenly turns into a 6-second swing the other way, and so that's 18-20 seconds that has gone for Jamie Fluke, and suddenly the race victory is falling out of his hands very, very quickly.
As we've now got Jack Sedgwick on pit road. He's making his final stop of the day in the number 10 Beast car. It's also secret. But we'll go back for the moment. I want to keep an eye out on what is going on in terms of your field. And we've missed a pit stop, by the way. Mike Dam has made his final service of the day. And as I predicted, Cam, he came out in 4th place in that number 36 huge ass car, and he's 16 seconds behind Alejandro Sanchez. Question will be, did he take tyres? I don't think he did. It was fuel only.
It should be fuel only. I don't think that they'd spend the time changing tires, because the fueling much more faster in the Mustangs and the MX-5s. So wouldn't be any surprise there if they only took fuel. If they did put on tires, it probably... okay, no, he did take tires. He took both. Yeah, he took all 4 tires.
So
okay,
now it'll be interesting looking at the lap time difference.
I'm not sure if there will be much of one. I think that it's mostly a driver comfort thing. He should be much more comfortable in the machine. The car should drive much more stably, because, as I've been saying, the rears have been, there's so much torque put out by that big old American engine in it. The rears do tend to start going away, so it should at least be much more comfortable to drive. The lap times, however, it's not like going from used slicks to new slicks.
Yeah, just having a look. Mark Perez in 2nd place, Clayton in 1st, Alejandro Sanchez in 3rd. Left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the top 3 in each of your class. Baker leads for the time being in your GT field, but he has still got to make his 3rd and final pit stop, as does Alex Riera in the number 43 car in your GT division. In GTS, Clayton leads from Perez, leads from Sanchez. Those 3 drivers separated by less than a second as Carlos Diaz comes on towards pit road. We also got Victor Smolarczyk on pit road as well, both from GT. Then, in terms of your ST division, Sonny Kanchin continues to lead from Fernando Busquets by about 0.2 of a second. What I don't understand is why Ricardo Silva's dropped back by 13 seconds. If anyone can give me an update on that one, because he was right there in the toe. Maybe he's on ultra fuel conservation mode all of a sudden, Jake.
Well, he was doing 211, 212, 211, 211, and suddenly it's fallen off a cliff. 214, 218, and now Ricardo Silva, I think, is thinking about ultra fuel save or getting back home.
Or pit road.
He's now looking to eye on pit road, and yes, I think he's short. I think he's just realised that he is very, very short.
He also made a big mistake there. What he should have done was come on towards pit road earlier. Doing a 214, 214, 218. I mean, combined, that loses you immediately about 14, 15 seconds. That's the difference now between him coming out around P number 7 and P number 10 in class. So, a big mistake there. That does, and he overshoots as well. I mean, when things go bad, they go very bad all of a sudden, I often say, in these circumstances. So there is Silva on his pit stall, making himself that final pit stop for him. It should be a splash and dash. He's out and away, 12.4 seconds. 7th place for him right now. No 8th place, no 9th place for him. Disastrous for Silva, Cam.
Yeah, definitely not what you wanted to see at all, especially when we were looking to have the grandstand finish. But overall, I have to say, you've really got to come to that conclusion real quick. Yeah. We still got, I mean, what, another 30 minutes of running here? So if you weren't going to make the fuel, you weren't going to make the fuel. Coming in, 20 minutes after your pit stop and then 30 minutes before the end of the race, it just seems a bit odd. But overall, though, we'll see where he is managing to able to pull out. He's got no one really around him. He's got Robin Esterson up ahead and Giuseppe Inucci. So perhaps he can get with them and start working his way up once again. He does have some time to recover, but obviously his dream of winning the award before the 24 in the MX-5 division is done.
Yeah, over and done with. And again, this is what I come back to. You've always got to make that decision early. You see it in events like this, like in the endurance event. You'll see it when we go to the biggest event in all the sim racing, the iRacing Indianapolis 500. If you're going to use the fuel save, you've got to commit, or you've got to abandon the strategy and go and make the pit stop, because you never know what happens ahead of you. But when your destiny's in your own hand and you get it wrong, the effects can be disastrous. Kimo Suerman, Robert Hartley. This is for P4 on track right now. So people can now say, finally, that we talked about the driver Kimo Suerman here today. He's up to 4th place in class now, Jake, without us really paying any attention. But Hartley is right behind him.
Well, Kimo Suominen is plus 20 overall. That shows you just how effective he's been at silently, almost like an assassin in the shadows, stealing a position, finding one after another after another. Robert Hartley will sit, Robert Hartley will wait, and I think that from now until the end, I don't see Robert Hartley wanting to make any moves. No real vehicle behind that can challenge, no real vehicle in front that they can challenge either, so it is purely a battle between two drivers. But there is Oriel Bow they could chase down. That could be one reason why they're not doing much. And there was 3/10 taken off on that last lap.
Yeah, let's have a look at the lap time differentials, actually, between Kimo Suerman and also Oriel Bow. And there we are. Well, they lost half a second between laps 53 and 54. They gained 0.3 of a second on lap number 55. So there's still a lot of work to do, but there's also still a lot of racing to go. I mean, let's not forget here, Jake, 20-minute race. This is what these guys do week in, week out in the Global Mazda MX-5 Championship on iRacing, 20-25-minute races.
Exactly. So this is going to be about how you make that 20-25 minutes count, but it's not going to be as simple as that, Will. They've driven over 2 hours to do another 24 minutes worth of action with 22 minutes left to go behind the driver of Alex Rorera, who is yet to come down to make his final stop, if he does do a final stop, Will. I think this is going to be a very interesting scenario to end this event. And I think that if you want 3rd in your class, you've got to go for it. If you want 1st in your class, you've got to go for it. If you're Juani Lopez, don't get stuck in a swarm of Mustangs.
Right, I want to go and turn my attention over now to Jamie Fluke versus Juani Lopez, because it is on. Jamie Fluke has closed up a second over the last couple of laps. And you can have a look there. He gained only 1/1000th of a second last lap around Cam, but before that, he gained a second. So Fluke is there. He is battling Lopez. Lopez stepped up his game that last lap, lap number 62 for him. But Fluke is now charging, and Lopez has got to hold on.
Yeah, but we got to remember that second was probably courtesy of these 4 Mustangs that Jamie Fluke finds himself involved now. He's gotten one of Prodham, but he's going to go to the inside of Aries, and so it doesn't seem that he's been influenced too much by this, as I do notice the sparks kicking up from these machines as they go onto the banking once again. And here comes Jamie Fluke on the outside. So, you know what, though, I don't think that the Mustangs really held him up any more or less than you would normally anticipate, and I do believe that they, however, did for Juan Lopez, which means that that's a net gain for Jamie Fluke, and we've still got, what, 20 minutes of racing just about to go. So we've got another pack of Mustangs on the horizon, however, and that we'll have to see where they come in as far as Juan Lopez is concerned.
Keep up to date with all your favourite drivers all race long. Visit RaceSpot.tv/time. You can also get social with us. Become our friend. Like us on Facebook /RaceSpotTV, and then go and follow us on the tweet zone at RaceSpotTV as well. Keep up to date with everything. All iRacing, all sim racing, all RaceSpot TV. Fabrice versus David Baker. P5 in class right now with just a handful of laps remaining. And, well, it looks as though that Fabrice is closing up. David, lap times are a little bit off. Let's have a look. David Baker's just made a pit stop, I believe, which is why that was the time it was. But last time around, Cornelis, we'll get the lap time up eventually, we promise. He says. But Cornelis is actually closing to David Baker. That's the main headline we want to talk about there. We unfortunately don't have a differential on lap number 63. But Cornelis, Fabrice is closing up to David Baker in your GT field. So, Jake, we have got more battles going on in GT to close things out.
Yes, we do, and they are both a few seconds away from Jack Sedgwick, who's now trying to deal with the train of what is going to be a lot of Mustangs, which everybody seemingly has decided they wanted to be a part of in the last few laps. But I think Cornelis is dropping back more rather than going forward, because David Baker's having a fantastic lap, able to save tyres a lot more effectively than Fabrice Cornelis is. So I think Cornelis knows that he is beaten at this stage. Sedgwick may be a bridge too far at this stage. That's going to be a differentiation point that we're going to look at. But Alex Herrera is in at last.
Yep, that means that 1E Lopez will take over the lead of this motor race. Just skirting around drivers. There goes Herrera trying to find his pit stall. So he will, let's say, give that race lead up to 1E Lopez in just one moment's time. Keeping an eye out for Lopez, should be coming up on the top of your screen any moment now. When we'll do so, we'll try and do some nice sexy camera work to try and make it all work out for you. And there we are. There is Lopez coming in towards turn number 1. Fluke in second place has closed that gap now down to 2.3 seconds. Fluke really is closing, Jake.
Oh, Jamie Fluke is on a charge. 53.8 last time by, beats the 54.5 of Juani Lopez by 7/10 of a second. So Juani Lopez now, he's got to think about panicking right now. He knows just how important this is for Jamie Fluke to close that gap down, to start really applying that pressure, turning the screw 10th by 10th by 10th, and this is a drive befitting of a champion for Jamie Fluke. If he can take the roar, he's going to go out fighting like a lion. He's not going to go whimpering like a domestic cat.
Oh, it is going to be a fantastic end to this event by the looks of it. 2.2 seconds, as I say, is what the gap is in terms of your GT battle. It's a 3-horse race for victory in GTS between Tim Clayton, Mark Perez, and Alejandro Sanchez. And then in ST, we've still got a battle going on between Sonny Canchim and Fernando Busquets. 3 classes all have got the race lead separated by less than 2.5 seconds. And Cam, we've got 15 minutes to go. We could have a battle nose to tail, side by side, photo finish, cameras at the ready on the banking, coming to the finish line in each of your 3 classes.
Take out the lawn chair, pull it up, and take a seat right at the start-finish line. It is going to be good watching them come off of corner number 4, Daytona corner number 4, and about 15 minutes time. But either way, I got to say, it's been exciting. We also got to remember that the battle for these Mustangs, this has been going on all race long, so it's not like perhaps another battle where these guys, they'll be just approaching into the battle and they'll immediately just take the battle straight on and see how it ends up. These guys in these Mustangs, they've all been racing around each other. They're all familiar with each other. They're completely used to this. And I will say, as far as World Tour events go, and this is another important thing to remember, this is the largest race of the season for these classes of cars. Obviously, it's the biggest race far and away for the Kias because they don't get to do these World Tour events, A, and then B, they're the fastest class of car, which normally, seeing as they're paired with the Cadillac, that's, you know, it's wonderful for them. So this is the biggest race of the season for the Kias. It's the biggest race of the season for the entire year for these Mustangs. The MX-5s, every race is the biggest race for those guys because they love it all. So I think probably 24 hours of the Nürburgring is probably the biggest race for the MX-5s. But it goes to show, really, as looking at this battle, Mark Perez, he's decided to go to the inside of Oriole Bowl there for down towards the bus stop. Don't know why, he just decided to, but either way, it just goes to show how much pressure these guys are doing. So we might be taking it's fun, it's the Roar before the 24, nothing too crazy. But for these guys, it's a massive race.
Oh, it really is indeed. As we're just having a look at the battle with Travis Davis versus Jim Shedlick. That's for P5 on track. Travis Davis actually did have himself the outside line and the advantage into turn number 2 last time by. But what happened was there was cars all around them. They're going too wide. Travis Davis's lane was closed off a little bit. He goes back down to the inside now, however, as they come side by side towards the bus stop chicane. Davis has the inside line this time by, makes the pass. Nice and easy there. Up to P number 5, the number 52 Club Indiana car. Behind, you still got this battle. We haven't talked much about it, but it's been fantastic all day long. Thomas Stockman's, Jake, with Tyler Shiflett, Timmy Ayres, Matthew Pommer.
Will?
Yes?
I hate to interrupt, but Robert Hartley, Kaimo Soyman in that battle, well, you can put a check mark in that one. That one's done courtesy of Thomas Tarty. Going into corner number 1, the Mustang, a little bit too big for its, bit of like a Burmese mountain dog, just didn't realize how large of a space it was taking, and ended up really just taking the front end from Robert Hartley, and that allowed Kaimo Soyman in to get the position going in 1. Nobody spun out or anything like that, but except for perhaps Tardy. But either way, that battle is going to be done.
Well, there's the replay up on your screen. Jake, back to you.
Yeah, and you saw what happened with Tartary there. That was an incident and one that we've seen, fortunately, not much of. But you're absolutely right here, Will, with the Stockman's battle, because look at these 4 as they have to now negotiate another battle in front of Roque Garcia versus Riku Alatalo, and down to the inside, make that one look very easy. Tyler Shiflett getting 1, getting hopefully 2 as well, with Stockman's, Ayres and Prudhomme looking for opportunities as Overguard starts to drop off of this train. This is the battle that nobody talks about, but has been fascinating to watch, as they just managed to find gaps that just don't seem to exist. Oh, Alatalo shut the door almost there on the driver of what was going to be Timmy Ayres. So Ayres getting a little bit lucky and may have to air some grievances.
Oh, come on, Jake. I've got to put it up again. You blew it. I'm sorry. If we had a sin bin, then I would put you in there, but it's okay. We've got side-by-side by the whale, do we? Silva and Inueke. No, Ricardo Silva's had an issue. Ricardo Silva's just had an issue. He slowed that car all the way down, and he has stopped down at the bus stop chicane. So a driver who at one point was leading this murder race, I think there's some technical gremlins for him there. Unfortunately, he's going to be classified as way down the field and out of this event. But 10.5 minutes, plus, of course, the white flag lap to go. Here is our situation. We start off by talking about your prototype field. Lopez leads by 2.1 seconds last time by at the line over Jamie Fluke. That's your battle for your race victory. Cedric and Baker, they are battling for P3 on track. The rest of them, well, they're pretty much now just driving it to the end. In terms of your GTS field, it is Clayson's who's leading, from Perez, from Sanchez. So it's a time there. Yeah, I messed up. I'll come back to that one in a moment. Clayson's leading from Perez, from Sanchez. Those 3 drivers separated by 0.7 of a second as it stands right now. Mike Dam is closing up, but I don't think he'll have enough time with 10 minutes to go. He had to make an additional pit stop. And then finally, to go and turn our attention to your ST field, it is Fernando Busquets who has made the pass over Sonny Canchian, but this could well just be Canchian setting himself up for the final lap. Those 2 drivers have a 16-second advantage over Ariel Bowe, with Suleiman in 4th place. Hartley falling back, of course, because the incident we saw on your screens a little bit earlier on. Yes, I did say prototype. I made a mistake. I'll go and put myself in the sin bin now, Cam.
The ever high-tech, bleeding edge of technology, front-wheel drive Kia Optima. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But I gotta say, this Mustang fight, I'm waiting for it to kick off, because every single time they go in the banking, they all close up. There's nothing between them. and I have just been waiting for them all to go nuts. But here's an interesting thing. Jamie Fluke, well, he's arrived on the scene, and this is trouble, actually. Significant trouble for Jamie Fluke because he's got 3 Mustangs all fighting for the victory in the race, and Juan Lopez was able to get Y on the banking.
Yeah, as Baker at the same time versus Sedgwick. They were side-by-side through turn number 1, side-by-side through turn number 2. They're side-by-side. No, they're not. They're back into line. So we can now think about Jamie Fluke. There he is. He's off track down into the kink as he works himself around the outside of those Mustangs. So he's lost himself half a second as a consequence as he worked himself through those Mustangs. So we're going to give ourselves one more look at that one, Jake. But Fluke now just has to do qualifying laps.
Well, he can do his best Ryan Hunter Ray impersonation as much as he likes, but it's not going to be helping him in terms of his overall time. He's scrubbing up the tyres, and now he's pushed to get himself into that situation. And those tyres go off very quickly, Will. I wonder if he's already used up those tyres, which Juan Lopez has been saving, which has been meticulously known, Juan Lopez, to be very good at saving tyres. So I think that the 3 could be safe from now to the end because Jamie Fluke has put too much in that vehicle to bring himself back into play. And not only that, but he's been caught in that battle between Sanchez, Perez and Clason.
I just think he was a mixture of unlucky and stupid on the exit of the International Horseshoe, going for a gap that barely existed on the outside, having to run 2 wheels on the grass. And yes, of course, the gap did close around him, but it wasn't the move. I mean, yes, it's a move you have to make with 10 minutes to go, but yes, it's also not the move you have to make at any point in the motor race because he could have ended up ruining his entire motor race. Shedlick, Home, Jacobs and Haynes actually go side by side. P7, P8 in your GTS field with less than 10 minutes to go. Also worth noting, actually, that Busquets has pulled out 7/10 of a second over Sonny Canchian in terms of your ST lead over the last couple of laps here. And Cam, unless this is Canchian just saving a bit of gas, making sure he's good to go to the end, or just cooling those tyres down, Busquets looks as though he's kind of got this one under control for the moment.
Well, for the moment, indeed. I mean, we've only got, let's see, it is a 2 minute and 11 second lap. So, yeah, we've got about maybe 2.5 laps to go, I would have to say. So he's perhaps just getting ready. Well, he's closed up. I think he realizes he can close up. He's probing, I think, basically. He wants to see when he can close. He wants to see when he can catch. Here comes Fabrice Cornelius around both cars. And also, just about the previous maneuver from Jamie Fluke, well, I liked it, to be completely honest. The race is on the line. He wants a chance at it. He wants every opportunity he can get, and around those Mustangs he went. I think that the Mustangs could have behaved a little bit better and let the guy fighting for the overall win of the race through just a hair. He didn't have to cut him off. But either way, I mean, obviously we're happy everything worked out, but just goes to show the commitment that he really wants a chance at it. And for Juan Lopez, I think now he's going to have to start pushing the car. Even with that excursion, it was only half of a 1 second, the difference between the lap times. It was a 0.2 to a 0.7. So basically nothing in it as far as lap times go, and an entirely clean track to go. And I'm not sure. The Kias should catch the rear end of the field, but the problem is, Will, the rear end of the field consists of Roque Garcia, Rico Alatalo, and Brian Holmes, 3 MX-5s.
Yeah, as we've also just seen there, David Baker moved himself ahead of Jack Sedgwick onto the podium with now just 5 minutes of the race to go. Past the start-finish line, in towards turn number 1 they go again. So Baker able to make that move in that CQR car up onto the podium as we begin to wrap things out here for our first of 2 trips to Daytona over the course of the next week. Of course, the 24 Hours of Daytona will be live here on RaceSpotTV, V8 Online and iRacing Live in 1 week's time. We'll talk more about that one after the race. We've got that battle still going on in GTS. So this is at some point, Jake, it's about time that these guys start fighting, but it might well be just waiting until the final lap.
Well, I've been looking at the Clayson's Perez-Sanchez battle, and Perez and Sanchez are deciding they want to go at it, and Clayson suddenly, out of nowhere, with 3 laps to go across the line, has the gap, has what he needs here to get himself home, get himself dry, and that gap could be so costly come the end, but I think he's just in range as Alejandro Sanchez to start clawing something back.
Or it's the sort of thing that they are just going to really close up on him. Let's not forget, 8 tenths of a second is still enough. You're in the draft. You will have that pretty much back to nose to tail by the time they get themselves to the start-finish line, one would suspect. They are battling with a Kia there, just working themselves past. Number 4 machine. That is Fabrice just working themselves past. And that's actually, that there hurt more than anything else, because now the gap's up to almost a second. In fact, it was just over a second. Clayson's getting a bit of a lucky move there, as Clayson's was able to just allow Fabrice to go past on the banking. 3 minutes remaining. Here is Juani Lopez, by the way. A lap takes 1 minute 54 seconds. So there is going to be 1 lap to go at the line by our calculations, Cam.
Yeah, and massive risk from Juan Lopez. He took the inside apex away from Riku Alatella, who was already pushing in. So both of these drivers are now absolutely pushing. And the lap time, once again, went into Jamie Fluke's... no, actually, it did not. Oh, no, it did. By 0.3 of 1 second. So 7 tenths got up just like that. On the inside of Garcia goes Fluke. And he should be able to have Alatalo. So it is not... It wouldn't be a matter of if Jamie Fluke is going to catch Juan Lopez. It's a matter of does he have enough time to do it.
He won't. He doesn't have enough time as it stands, unless Lopez really gets held up in the next lap and a half or so, because Lopez now is on the cruise, one would almost say, to victory. Sanchez versus Clayson. The gap is back down to 7 tenths from a second, so it's not yet over for this battle. It's going to be a lot of work on the banking for these three, but we still expect them to have their grandstand finish. And of course, we've got the one going on in ST as well, Jake. That is between Busquets and Kanchin. At some point, we're going to see the move for both GTS and ST. Do you think it'll be before the bus stop or after the bus stop?
I think after the bus stop is the easiest option, but it's the one that is the most dangerous as well, because of the fact that you have to time it absolutely perfect. And I think Sonny Kanchin knows that he's got to time it perfect. That's why he's giving himself this gap to go attack the bus stop, get a fantastic bus stop, and then use that momentum out of said bus stop to get that run. You can see already the tactics come into play. They're running the high line. They're not even running the racing line, allowing Jonas Fast and Marky Fast and Lucky to come down through. That's how much it means to be scrapping for it. But right now, the white flag flies for Juani Lopez. The gap is 2 seconds, and by my looks of things, there's 3 in front that he has to deal with.
Yeah, but the gap is still 2 seconds to Jamie Fluke, so he's got enough there in the bank unless things go disastrously wrong. This will be the white flag as well for your GTS field. In terms of your ST field, they will see the white flag in 1 moment's time. And this is where silly season will start happening in your GTS field. You've got to make sure you stay close enough to Clayson that you don't end up in a situation that he can steal the victory. So if you're Perez or Sanchez, you got to keep it close enough together. And I don't think they're doing so at the moment. Busquets will come past the start-finish line, and the ST division will now see the white flag. 1 more lap to go for them. Meanwhile, on the back straightaway for the final time, here is Juani Lopez into the bus stop chicane for the final time. We are, of course, going to keep you up to date with what happens in the showdown down in GTS and also in ST. But for the moment, it is time to recognize the driver who was able to work strategy to his advantage. The driver who's just had himself an almost picture-perfect race out of NASCAR turn number 4 for the final time. And Juani Lopez will win the Raw before the 24 here on RaceSpotTV. Juani Lopez wins overall and, of course, wins that GT class as well. On to the banking. It looks as though, unless it's going to be a fantastic run for Perez, it's going to be Tim Clayson's victory in terms of the GTS division, because Perez and Sanchez are just so far back Sanchez versus Perez. That'll be the battle for second place in class as it seems now, because they've actually lost a load of time to Tim Clayton's on that final lap. So now it's a case of Tim Clayton's coming out the final corner, and he will win in class for the GTS division. Second place is going to go to Sanchez, according to our timing and scoring. Sanchez and then Mark Perez will be second and third in your GTS division. Busquets versus Kanchin. That now is the one we want to turn our attention to, because this could be really close for Kanchin as they work themselves onto the banking for the final time. To the outside will go Sonny Kanchin. As we turn our attention to our aerial coverage, it will be the drag race. Mustang going to the high side. It's a case of who's got it out of NASCAR turn number 3 and 4. There could almost be a bit of side drafting going on between these two, as Kanchin will have himself the advantage. It is literally about a foot or so, but Kanchin at the line will just, I think, get it. Or, yes, he's got it there by 15 one-thousandths of a second. Sonny Kanchin is your winner in class in your ST division. 15 one-thousandths of a second. It was mighty, mighty close at the end, but Kanchin was able to steal victory almost as we expected. Also, to let you know, Baker was able to hold off Jack Sedgwick on the final lap. They've been swapping positions over the last 5 minutes or so. So that battle ended up going to David Baker. When all was said and done, I'm not going to lie, Jake, that's a bit anticlimactic.
A little bit, but I think it was still a great battle between the Cavalier sim racing man of Fernando Antoli and Sonny Kanchin. I thought that was fantastic, and I think that especially in that second category, you look at Tim Clayton's, I think he got away with one, knowing that Sanchez and Perez were going to scrap so hard into the bus stop there. Perez outbroke himself slightly. Alessandro Sanchez had nowhere to go as well, so that gave the driver of Tim Clayton's a very well-respected and arguably well-deserved win by getting himself up there. That was fantastic work from all of them. And Jamie Fluke, well, give him a bit more time. Would he have got there? I reckon he would have. He would have.
He needed another 5 laps or so, however. I'll talk trivia after we go to commercial. We'll come back for our post-race coverage. But let's start off by running through your final results then from Daytona, the Raw before the 24. We'll start off, of course, with your GT division. 1E Lopez winning by 1.7 seconds in the end over the number 8 machine of Jamie Fluke, with David Baker in 3rd place. 4th place will go to Jack Sedgwick, and then Fabrice Cornelis there in P number 5. Alex Ruria there in P6, Cohen Klopman in 7th, Yunus Ovasnamaki in 8th, Kurt Crum in 9th, and Whitcourt and Smorslek there in the 10th position. Remainder of your prototype, I said it again, your GT results up on your screen. You saw there that 12 of these GT cars finished, and we had a couple of retirees. Most notably, I would argue, Isaac Price, Alexander Daladon, and Eric Andre, both also out early on in the day. Otherwise, that could have been a very deep finish to your prototype, your GT field. I'll say it one more time, just for the fun of it. Over to GTS, Tim Clayton takes victory over Alejandro Sanchez. Mark Perez in 3rd, Mike Dam in 4th, and Travis Davis in 5th. It was very close, actually, until the last lap between Clayton, Sanchez, and Perez. But then Sanchez and Perez decided they were going to go at it. They realized that Clayton was almost too far ahead to go for victory. Sanchez wins by 0.03 of a second over Perez. So Dam in 4th, Travis Davis in 5th. Jeff Jacobs in 6th place, Jim Shedlick in 7th, David Haynes in 8th place, Thomas Stockman's in 9th, and Timmy Ayres rounds out your top 10. Remainder of your GTS field there up on your screen. 12 drivers finish on the lead lap in class. 3 drivers 1 lap down. Your arguably biggest retirees was Javier Sanchez and Eero Nom out of your GTS field. And then finally over to your ST division. Sonny Kanchin claims it at the line by 15 one-thousandths of a second over Fernando and Tony Busquets. Busquets did lead a lot of the last half an hour of the event. After their pit stop, Kanchan, however, was able to just make sure that traffic didn't get in the way on the run to the start-finish line. He was able to take victory in a drag race to the line. Oyo Bo in third place, Kimo Suruman in fourth, Robert Hartley fifth, Victor Nandez, Robin Esterson, Giuseppe Iwancini. I'm going to say that again. Giuseppe in 8th place, Brian Holmes in 9th, and Ruth Garcia rounding out your top 10. Remainder results coming up for you. Worth noting, Pezza Sicilia was leading at the start of this event. However, technical issues for him put him out of the motor race. We're going to step aside for a few moments here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSpotTV. We'll be back with some interviews, reaction, and a look towards next week after this.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There's a look at the start of the Raw before the 24. Three classes storming down in towards turn number one. What a race we've had here today. Fantastic racing throughout your entire field of three classes, your GT, your GTS, and your ST fields. And well, when all is said and done, Cam, I'd say it's the perfect warm-up for the 24 Hours of Daytona next week here on RaceSpotTV.
Yeah, it's a race that you can enjoy, that you can certainly take seriously if you're a big Kia driver, if you're a big Mustang driver, big MX-5 driver, but for the overall, it's just a good, fun race. People get to drive the paint schemes that they like. People get to just have a good time, have a good pre-race, get themselves ready and warmed up here around this Daytona circuit, have some fun, have a good individual race, which are becoming a bit of a unicorn in today's day and age, and you know, then we all get to look forward to, we all get ready for, and we all start getting serious about next week, which is, of course, our Daytona 24.
Yeah, indeed so, and I say a lot of the special event schedule for this year, as Cam just alluded to there, is really based on endurance racing. You know, the next time they're actually going to be in a single car person race, Jake?
Knoxville Nationals.
No.
Oh?
Come on. Come on.
I haven't.
You've got to know the answer to this.
Is it Indy?
It is Indy, yeah. Of course, the next time we have a solo car event will be as we head ourselves one more time to Indianapolis. It will be the 9th running maybe even, of the iRacing Indianapolis 500. It will be here on RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live. It is the biggest event in sim racing, and you can catch it on your home of sim racing IndyCar. That is RaceSpotTV. But let's talk about the overall picture coming out of this one, because there was a bit of a risky strategy there taken by Jamie Fluke. He had himself good pace. He just couldn't seal the deal. And again, Jake, if he actually had got close enough to Lopez, it would have been a draft race coming out of the bus stop chicane. But Fluke, a little bit of poor luck by him, catching traffic when he didn't need it towards the end of the motor race. But then also, I just don't think he made always the best choices. And I would also say that he didn't have the raw pace at the phase of the race he needed it with about half an hour to go.
I think Jamie Fluke knows it himself. He overfueled that vehicle heading towards the end. He dropped 20 seconds, and those 20 seconds he could definitely have done with back again. So I think Jamie Fluke, if he had an opportunity to run that race back again, he'd do it very differently to what he's done. And, you know, there's no taking away how good Jamie Fluke is inside of a Kia. The fact that Juani Lopez has beaten him straight up by 1.7 seconds isn't a testament to how bad Jamie Fluke as a driver is, but more rather how good he is, because he's still beating all these drivers who has such a big iRating, you know, boost to them. You know, the likes of the Sedgwicks, the Cornelises, the Klopmans, and even the David Bakers as well, who you could argue is one of those drivers who always is up there towards the top when it comes to Kia racing. I think Jamie Fluke will be very disappointed with the result of second. He had this race win pretty much since the drop of the green flag. And you know what, Will? I think he blew it.
Yeah, I think he did. And of course, if you've been thinking, if you're an iRacing member, you know what? I wish I actually took part in this event. There's still one more opportunity. That will be 2 p.m. GMT tomorrow. No broadcast, unfortunately. But you can race with over 500 others in your last chance to roar before the 24. We've got a couple of interviews we're going to get out for you over the course of the next 10-15 minutes or so. We're going to start with the winner in your GTS division. That is the driver of Tim Clayton's. He stood by with Cameron Walsh.
Yes, of course, the Mustang FRS doing fairly well here at the Daytona International Speedway. Tim, it's the biggest race of the season for these Mustangs, and, well, you've managed to come home with a victory in that number 50 machine. 2 hours, 24 minutes of racing, and you found yourself basically in a battle from the drop of the green till the drop of the checkered. Take me through it.
First of all, hey guys, it was a great race. I put the Torque Creek Racing car pretty much in the middle of the pack at the start, but had a really good start. And from that point on, we knew it was going to be a fuel-saving race, or you were going to have to take an extra stop. So it was a strategic battle all the way. The pit stops, we went all in together, we came out all together, and the battle resumed immediately. After that, it was again fuel saving right until up until the last 5-10 laps, which meant, okay, the flag drops here, and now we're gonna go for it. And from that point on, I was a little bit lucky that the guys behind me decided to battle each other more than they decided to battle me. So I sort of took advantage of that, kept the car clean, kept it on the track, no mistakes. And well, in the end, it gave me the win.
Yeah, and of course, we would be remiss to say that it was just you Mustangs out there. Of course, you had the Kias, which are just blazing fast on the straight, and you had the MX-5s, which are always in packs, and they're always taking the battles through it. On top of the fights that you had to have here at Daytona for the Roar before the 24, just take me through lap traffic. How did the traffic go? Did the MX-5s behave nicely? Did the Kias do well? Just from your perspective, what did it feel like out there?
Well, the Kias, they were kind of sparse, even the first time they went through, so it was really manageable. You could dodge them here and there. The MX-5 though, they were a really tight field that kept working together really well. So there were like trains of 12-15 MX-5 behind each other, which did make it a little bit tricky to get past them very cleanly without messing their laps up as well. The fun part comes when you're lapping MX-5 and then there's a bunch of Kias. You're just driving in your mirrors, looking in front, looking to the side. Yeah, it was adventurous to say the least. It was adventurous. But in the end, well, it all managed to work out. I didn't have single contact with the car. We didn't scrape anything. No walls were hit. And the car came home very cleanly.
Yeah, car came home clean indeed, and you've got yourself the victory of the very first World Tour event of 2018. So congratulations there on your win in the Ford Mustang, and well, anyone you would like to give a hello to, a thank you to before we let you go and celebrate?
Yeah, of course. Recently our team has gotten a sponsorship from GB Enterprises and Link ECU. They're British tuning companies which provide ECUs for racing cars, high-powered cars and everything. They test cars, they tune cars. So really I would like to thank them for giving us the opportunity to put their sponsorship on our car and running their paint schemes. And apart from that, of course, the rest of the team, we've all worked together a little bit this week to get the car in a reasonable shape. And in the end, it really worked out. So it was a great event. And thanks for broadcasting.
Well, of course, it's our pleasure. The Belgian Tim Claessen's taking victory in the Mustang FRS 500 machine, our GTS field for the day. Will, I'd have to say, these Mustangs, they do put on a good show. You know, you don't want to see them every week because, of course, there are many other vehicles on the iRacing service, but when we do get these things out, these are probably one of the most oldest vehicles that are constantly being raced, and they still put on an amazing show.
And you like them almost as much as your 4GT.
Almost.
Almost. Jake Sparrow stood by with David Haynes. David Haynes came home P number 8 in class here today. That was, of course, in your GTS division.
Exactly, and David Haynes, a man who I do like talking to. I think he's a very, very knowledgeable chap. So, David, your race today spent a lot of time gaining a lot of positions and plus 13 at the end of it. I think you can say you can be very happy with.
Thank you. Yeah, really pleased for the team, for me. Really exciting racing the whole way through. Really good stuff.
Well, it always is. And, well, talk about your battles today, because we've seen what's happened with the likes of Ayres and Stockmans, and you also had, of course, your own little scrap as well with the likes of Shedlick and Jacobs as well today. So it seems that wherever we turn to look in this field of the mid-pack, you were there somewhere in a little bit of a scrap.
Yeah, I think, you know, when it comes to this level in the Mustang, I don't have completely the pace of some of the other guys, but what I managed to do is save a bit of fuel. I took 1 gallon less in the pit stop than almost everyone else, and then I came back out and I was in another pack and I just had to stick with them. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to the front of that pack at the end. I don't know if we saw that, but, you know, 8th is a very good result, starting from where I started, and good start to the year. Good start to the year.
And a good start to the year has to beg the question with HJ Motorsport is that where are you going next? What is the plan for the season? And, you know, what are the big aspirations for HJ heading forward?
Hopefully above 43rd on your top 50 sim team rankings. Notice us, Senpai.
Fair play. I'll give you that one. So before we let you go, any shout-outs to sponsors? I know you like them.
Oh, well, first of all, always big thanks to Mr. Jas. Couldn't actually be at Daytona because he had to fly out to Okayama for that race. But, you know, he's always watching, always encouraging us. And there's nothing he loves more than a good, refreshing Dickens cider after a race in the garage. So shout out to him and shout out to our sponsors. Also, shout out to JRT, keeping my fuel in check. Sponsor us.
There we go. As simple as that. David Haynes. Good drive from him today there,
I like it when we have nice, to the point, factual interviews. So thank you very much to David Haynes. Well, we're about to wrap things up here on RaceSpotTV, of course. Don't forget, we've got plenty more action coming up this weekend on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. Visit RaceSpot.tv for all the information on that one. In 1 week's time, Cam, we head ourselves over to the first 24-hour event in sim racing in 2018. It is the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours, and we love this event.
Yeah, I gotta say, it is by far probably my favorite 24-hour race. You know, sorry to Le Mans and all the other rests, but I love Daytona. I love the race. I love the atmosphere, The YouTube chat is always there. TeamSpeak's always getting full with people always wanting interviews. We've been waiting for months. The last race of the season for the World Tour basically is Petit Le Mans in October. The last 24-hour race is not that, it was Spa last year, and that was in July, August. So people have been waiting. The anticipation's been building. We've had not one, but like 2 or 3 updates at this point before we've had this 24-hour race. I am super stoked for it. It is going to be under the lights. Hopefully, this perhaps might be, Mr. Will Vincent, the last time that we ever have a full Daytona 24-hour in one setting. And I'm super excited. You got your Corvette DT, your Daytona prototypes, your GTE machines, and your GT3 cars, which is the most modern conglomerate field that we have on the iRacing service. Yeah, absolutely love getting those DTs out. Actually, one of my favorite cars in iRacing. I'm going to be frank and honest about it. But Jake as well, we love these 24-hour races because of that fan interaction like Cam talked about. It's so much fun for us to do. You're going to have 16 hours of it here on RaceSpotTV. Our friends over at V8 Online, they'll be doing 8 hours, as we're not going through the night this time. They're going to keep you awake for those of you watching the entire thing. But 16 hours worth of coverage here on RaceSpotTV. We're really looking forward to it. And as I say, the big guns come out. This is our first chance to really see what the endurance dynamic is going to be for 2018.
It is, and although we have seen the way that the endurance dynamic has been looking in series such as Neo Endurance and, of course, Sports Car Open, you sort of look at the World Tours as the pinnacle. You look at them as, in terms of endurance, in terms of long endurance, that you want to go and win that event. And you know that putting all that hard toil and tears and sweat, all of that into it, you know, you want to come out with that result. And there's a reason why a lot of people want that result. And I think that the form book will show that there are favourites coming into this event. I think a lot of people are showing up at the right times, but this is racing. It doesn't matter what a form book says. Anyone can win at any given time, given that they've got a fighting chance.
Coanda, Core, Radicals, Inex, Apex, or someone else, or ERT? Movano, you're saying? Okay.
I'm saying Movano. Marcus Hamilton, Frederick Evers, and Tommaso Carlo are arguably the 3 best drivers at the moment when it comes to endurance, short of Beneke and Wolf and probably Venig as well. So I think that Movano have a real shot like they did last year.
And of course, you've got people like Freddie Rasmussen, who's got things focused elsewhere. And a couple of the teams in the Pro Series of Road Racing, well, they're focused on the Pro Series of Road Racing. They're not going to, quote-unquote, waste things away on something else. Which is worth thinking about. And Cam, as we think about next week as well, you got any early picks?
I don't, but I think that this is sort of the unique event because we normally have that HPD prototype. That is the pinnacle. We normally have that being the fastest machine out there. A lot of people are not only very familiar with the car inside and out, driving-wise, setting up-wise, everything like that. The Daytona prototype, however, it's a bit of a specialist thing. You don't normally see it. It's not like they're taking the Daytona prototype to Le Mans or the Nürburgring or anything like that. So sometimes what can happen is you can get drivers that are highly specialized in these Daytona prototypes, teams that are very good at setting these cars up. HPP kind of comes to mind because Mr. Sandman there is probably one of the fastest Daytona prototype drivers I can think of off the top of my head. But we have to remember, as Jake was saying, Movano, super quick. I'm pretty confident that they took the 6-hour last season. So at Watkins Glen, but either way,
He'd be wrong.
That's right. Oh, you know what? It was, yes, I don't remember the team. But,
Sport.
yes, but either way, they're super quick in the Daytona prototype too, so you can't count them out because they normally have high performing. So we'll see. It's fun for me, the Daytona prototype, because you get a lot of teams that you don't normally see dedicated to it, because we got to remember a lot of other teams that are your high pinnacle teams, they're focused on GT3 and they're focused on GTE.
Yeah, I think that's it. We will have a Facebook Live pre-show before we do the 24 Hours of Daytona. That will be immediately following Friday Night Prime Time, coming up this Friday on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. So it's a bit of a late Friday night prime time this week. So we'll be looking at around 10 p.m. GMT. That is going to be 5 p.m. Eastern time. So keep that one lock and loaded for us. And of course, you can catch the entire 24 Hours of Daytona, the third annual, here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. Coverage also brought to you by our friends over at V8 Online as well. That's all we got time for, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being a part of our coverage over the course of this afternoon. And we just want to end, as always, by saying thank you to these guys. Eastman Ballhouse Track Cams with Gourmets. Download them now on facebook.com/track cams. Andreas Warner and One Design, the official overlay package, all the beautiful graphics that you see up on the screen. Andreas Warner and One Design, our overlay package, all the stuff that you see that makes stuff work for us. Simon Grossman, Aptioneer.in. You can find ATVO online at Aptioneer.in. Live timing and scoring as well. I want to give a shout out to Nick Thisson for helping us with the back end for that one. That'll be really useful next week. Live timing and scoring will be available for the entire 24-hour event. I'm Will Vincent. That guy over there was Shakespeare and Cameron Walsh. So that's it from the Raw before the 24. We will see you in a week's time for the 24 Hours of Daytona. Thank you so much for checking us out. We'll see you all in a week. Goodbye.